This is Audible.
How to Build Network Marketing Leaders, Volume 1, Step-by-Step Creation of MLM Professionals. Written by Tom Big Al Schreiter. Narrated by Dan Culhane. Published by Fortune Network Publishing. Produced by Archangel Inc. Dedication. This book is dedicated to network marketers everywhere. I travel the world 240-plus days each year. Let me know if you want me to stop in your area and conduct a live Big Al training. My website is bigalseminars.com. Get 7 mini reports of amazing, easy sentences that create new, hot prospects. Sign up today at bigalreport.com. Other great Big Al books available at bigalbooks.com. Preface. This is just a start. Not everything. Leadership is a huge topic and skill. This book certainly won't begin to cover all the principles and skills we need to master. When writing this book, I had to decide where to start and where to stop. No one wants to read 1,000 pages of leadership philosophy. No one wants to memorize 100 different leadership principles. No one wants to simultaneously master 200 different leadership skills. And what about the how-to methods to implement all those things? So if you're looking for one book to do it all, this isn't the book. This book is only a start. But we have to start somewhere, right? If we don't know what we don't know, starting is the best first option. So let's get started with learning a few things about leadership now. This book will have some philosophy, some principles, some skills, some how-to methods, but it certainly won't have them all. As in everything, we learn some things first and then later we learn more. That's why this book is called Volume 1. How to Build Network Marketing Leaders, Volume 1, Step-by-Step Creation of MLM Professionals, addresses the 600-pound gorilla in the room. Problems. Tom Big Al Schreiter. I am lazy. Just give me the secret. If you can only listen this far into the book, the secret's easy. Implementing the secret will require that we learn some new skills. That's a little harder. Yes, there's always a catch. Try this little routine. Step 1. Think of all the books, audios, and seminars about how to be successful in network marketing. Step 2. Now, think about all the manuals and training programs produced by network marketing companies. And Step 3. Now put all this wisdom into one large pile. Result? You now have a very big pile of stuff that few people would ever read. Wouldn't it be nice to reduce all of this network marketing success wisdom to one simple phrase? Well, here's the secret. The one simple phrase that sums up all you need to know to become a superstar in network marketing? Ready? Here it is. To be successful in network marketing, all you have to do is build leaders and make them successful. That's it. That's the total essence of that enormous pile of wisdom. Leaders make your life easy. Leaders make you financially secure. And leaders are rare. Ask a network marketer if he has leaders in his group and he'll reply, "Oh yeah, sure I do. I've got a few really good people." Well, here's the misconception. Really good people are not leaders. They're only really good people. A leader is much more than a good worker, a good recruiter, a good producer. A network marketing leader is someone who gets the most out of new distributors and helps them become more than they become alone. Will make sure his or her distributors order products at the end of the month. A network marketing leader is someone who never complains to downline distributors. Never complains or whines to the upline sponsor or to the company. Has his or her own goals. A leader conducts the regular opportunity meeting for you when you're away. Make sure the hotel room is taken care of, the product display is set up, and the meeting starts on time. Is in personal control of his attitude and doesn't let outside influences control his success. A leader sets a strong personal example of a steady focus on the ultimate goal. And a leader is happy when you're gone, so he or she can do their business peacefully without your interference, while enjoying taking responsibility and being in control. There's so much more than that list, but you get the idea. Leaders are rare, very, very rare. How rare? Counting real leaders. Well, if you have one real leader in your group, you're financially fortunate. If you have two real leaders in your group, you're very rich, independently wealthy. If you have 3, 4, or 5 real leaders in your group, you probably miscounted. Leaders are just that rare. Leaders are how you measure your success in network marketing. Distributors come and go, sort of like sand washing on and off the beach. They don't have that 100% commitment to their networking business. Distributors think, well, I'll try this company for a while, and then maybe I'll try this company for a while, then maybe I'll watch television for a while, and if the bonus check's too small, then I'll quit. Distributors have spent their whole lives learning to quit. They quit school, they quit their jobs, they quit exercising, they quit their New Year's resolutions, they quit their marriages, they quit their diets. Let's face it, most people are professional quitters. Now, that's not entirely bad. Quitting our job or quitting watching television at night might be appropriate. Since these people come and go, you can't really build your group strictly on distributors. You need leaders. Disasters? If the press unfairly reports on your business, you might lose some uncommitted distributors. If a temporary product shortage occurs, more distributors will retire to mindless browsing of the internet and watching cable television. If the company adjusts a few policies and procedures, a few more distributors will exit because they fear change in their lives. However, none of these disasters will affect your leaders. Your leaders will continue to recruit, build, and motivate their downlines. Okay, having 1 or even 2 leaders may sound really great, but how do you build or find these rare, motivated, loyal potential leaders? You'll want to locate a potential leader who works so well in your absence that you'll have plenty of time to build a second leader. Let's talk about the counterfeit leader syndrome. Some people think they have leaders or potential leaders, but they really don't. Back in the early 80s, a couple of large network marketing companies went out of business. Some of their distributors had over 50,000 people in their downlines. Since their network marketing company was defunct, many of these leaders with large organizations went looking for another networking opportunity. They'd approach a distributor with another company and say, I'm looking for a sponsor to get into your network marketing company. I'd like to join your company. I just came from this network marketing company that went out of business and I had 50,000 folks in my group. Well, the sponsor got all excited. Wow, this guy's going to join. He has 50,000 distributors in his group. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to retire. I'm going to go to Hawaii. Maybe to Hawaii by slow freighter. So, the leader joins. What the sponsor didn't realize is that the group didn't really have loyalty to this so-called leader. He never really helped them. He didn't do any favors for them. There was no relationship. Out of the 50,000 people in his organization, 40,000 retired from network marketing. They didn't want anything more to do with it. Out of the remaining 10,000, about 9,000 of them didn't even know this so-called leader existed. Out of the remaining 1,000, about 950 knew and hated this so-called leader. Out of the remaining 50 distributors, about 45 just weren't sure if they wanted to join. That left only 5 people out of the original 50,000 downline who were willing to sign up. Here's this great leader who really had only about 5 distributors. That's not a leader. Finding those rare leaders. Distributors come and go, but leaders are the people who are loyal to you and the company. They're working the business for their own reasons. They'll continue working their business when you are in Hawaii or on a Caribbean cruise. How do you get that loyalty? How do you find a leader like that? Many newer distributors will see a leader in a different, competitive network marketing company. He's doing really well. The new distributor thinks, maybe if I make this leader a really great offer, I can steal him from his upline. He'll quit his present company, come join my opportunity instead. Yeah, let me offer him an extra $500 a month more than he's making now. Sounds good in theory. Why not just bribe a leader over to your group? If he isn't loyal to his present sponsor and company right now, this should be pretty easy. Sounds good, but there's just one little problem. What's going to happen when your new, freshly stolen and bribed leader gets another offer that's just a little bit better than yours? Let's say someone also offers this leader $501 extra a month. Whoops, your stolen leader has just been stolen by someone else. Look at it this way. You just can't go around stealing leaders, because if they aren't loyal to their present sponsors, they certainly won't be loyal to you. Obviously, this method isn't for us. How about something else? Well, here's another approach. What you need to do is find someone who's not a leader, someone who is dedicated and wants to learn this business. You tell this potential leader, if you're really sincere and you really want to do this business, I'm going to make you successful. I'm going to work with you and teach you what you need to know to become a leader, and continue until we build you a solid group and a full-time income. Imagine you spend 6 months helping to make this person successful. Do you believe your newly developed leader thinks highly of you and your commitment to his success? He sure does. He'll think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread and cable television. He might even consider having a picture of you on his desk next to his family. Now, what happens 6 months from now when another distributor approaches your new leader and says, "Hey, quit where you are now. Come with me. Start all over again from scratch. Come join my new wonderful network marketing opportunity. I know you don't know me, and I just contacted you now. And I don't normally steal leaders from other groups, but I'll be around to help you. Trust me." Your leader will think, hey, if this person is okay with stealing people from others, this person will probably end up stealing people from me. Your leader might tactfully reply to this person by saying, "I don't know much about you. I do know that I can't be successful jumping around to different network marketing opportunities. And I do know that my sponsor invested 6 months to make me successful. I wasn't successful before, now I am. I owe some loyalty to my sponsor. Plus, I know my sponsor is going to continue to work with me. He's not just going to give me some lip service or promises." You have security with leaders whom you personally build. You can sleep at night. You won't be worried about network marketing pirates bearing bribes. That's how you protect your business, so that you're constantly building and going forward on a sound foundation. Nobody likes working hard just to replace lost leaders and lost business. That's one of the keys of network marketing superstars. They build and keep their leaders. Real duplication. About 35 years ago, a stranger came to me and said he wanted to be successful in network marketing. He said, "I want to really go for it. I want to be a top leader." Well, over the next 6 months, we practically lived together. We worked together at every available opportunity. We traveled together. We did 2-on-1 presentations and opportunity meetings together. We gave training meetings together. We prospected together. And guess what? After 6 months, this new leader knew everything I knew. Duplication? No. It was better than that. You see, my new leader knew everything I knew. Plus, he had all his own personal experience and wisdom. He was the product of my knowledge, plus his own unique personal knowledge. Yes, he was even a better leader than I was. Now, this is no time to get jealous or upset. How many people would love to have some personally sponsored leaders who are even more talented than themselves? This definitely is not the time to let one's ego get out of hand, because we're talking money, serious money. It's great to have super talented leaders on your team. Better than real duplication? Absolutely. After I trained my new leader to be better than myself, guess what he did? He immediately started mentoring his first potential leader. For the next 18 months, he trained his new emerging leader. Now, what did this new leader know after the 18-month apprenticeship? First, he knew everything I knew. Second, he knew everything his sponsor knew. Third, he also knew everything he personally knew from his own experience. This new leader knew more and was a better producer than his sponsor was or I was. He was better at network marketing than both of us, and he made a point of constantly reminding both of us of that fact. And that's okay. Now, in a period of less than 3 years, I had developed 2 good solid leaders who were more talented than I was. Yes, I was happy. Wouldn't you be? Intelligence test. Now compare the following 2 scenarios. Scenario 1. You work hard for 3 years, sponsoring lots and lots of distributors. You give plenty of opportunity meetings, solve downline social problems, change companies once or twice, and at the end of 3 years, you have nothing. Scenario 2. You develop 1 or 2 leaders over 3 years and become rich. retired, secure, and very, very happy. That's not a very tough choice. It's the steady, slow, focused network marketing leaders who build one leader at a time, who really maximize the benefits of a networking career. They have the patience and the vision that this is a lifelong career, not a job. Lifelong career? Of course. We all do network marketing every day. We might as well get paid for it. Now let's talk about sorting for potential leaders. Yes, always think in terms of leaders. All along in your career, you're going to be sponsoring distributors. However, occasionally you're going to see somebody who says, maybe I can be a leader too. Helping this person become a leader will require a lot of work and a lot of time. We can't afford to spend 6 months or 1 year with a pseudo-leader. We want to be almost certain this potential leader prospect is serious. After all, who wants to waste 6 months of his life on an unqualified prospect? That would be 6 months of your life that you would never get back. Time is a valuable asset. The sincerity test. How can we test for sincerity and commitment? Well, here's one way. Ask your potential leader, how do you feel about this business? Then listen. There are 3 types of commitment. Pay close attention. It could save you months and months of wasted time. The first commitment is when a prospect says, well, I'll try. This is the weakest form of commitment. This is the commitment that creates temporary distributors. The second type of commitment is when the prospect announces, I'll do the best that I can. This is much better. Many of our best distributors make this commitment. And finally, there's the third type of commitment, when the prospect promises, I'll do whatever it takes. Our potential sales leader will make this type of commitment, and this is only their first step. It'll take a lot more for them to actually become a leader. But if they're unwilling to make this first step, you might want to save your time for someone who deserves and needs your time more. So imagine your distributor answers, this business sounds pretty good. I'm ready to give it a try. When your distributor says that he'll try it, what does that mean? Does it mean if he doesn't get a check tomorrow, or if the check is not directly deposited in his bank, he'll quit? Does it mean he's going to work for a few weeks, and if he's not lucky, he'll try something else? Maybe he'll try the state lottery. Your distributor is saying this. I'll try it. It seems to be convenient. It doesn't appear to require much work. Press a little harder for a commitment, and you'll hear this distributor say, are you telling me I actually have to go to opportunity meetings? I already know how they end, and use the product? Well, why should I have to use the product? I just want to sell it. Or, why do I have to go to training? I just want to be rich. Isn't there a shortcut? Basically, we're talking about a distributor here with the lowest level of commitment. This is not a potential leader. A better commitment? Let's ask another distributor, how do you feel about this business? Then listen. He replies, I'll do my best. Pretty good commitment, isn't it? You'd like one of your distributors to approach you and say, yes, I want to be a leader, and you have my commitment that I'll do my very best. And you know what? This distributor will do his very best. Now, if his best isn't good enough to make it to the top, to become a leader, what happens? Your distributor says, well, I did my best, I gave it my best shot, it just didn't work out. It just didn't work out. Ouch. That's not what you want to hear after a 6-month investment in your potential leader. He gave his best effort, he worked hard. This is just a pretty good commitment, but that didn't make him a leader. What you actually had was a really good distributor. Nothing wrong with that. We all love good, committed distributors, but the commitment level of, I'll do my best, is not enough for you to risk 6 months of day-to-day mentoring. You're going to want an even higher commitment before you take on a leader trainee. Real commitment. Let's ask another potential leader. How do you feel about this business? Then listen. He replies, I'll do whatever it takes. Now that's the kind of commitment you're looking for. This is the kind of commitment that can withstand hurricanes of negativity and the rejection of friends, relatives, and coworkers. This potential leader will respond to challenges with the spirit of total commitment to his goal. When a bunch of friends says no, he simply says to himself, well, I'll just talk to some more people. When his entire warm market rejects him, he says, maybe I need to do some more work on my presentation and communication skills. When competitors try to steal your potential leader into their programs, he says, it's not your program or my program that'll make me rich. It's my personal effort and effectiveness that will make me rich. I'm staying with my mentor until I succeed. What a difference a total commitment can make. These are the rare individuals we like to invest in, to develop them into true leaders. Remember, it only takes one leader to make you financially fortunate. And if you develop 2 leaders, then you're rich beyond your wildest imagination. And if you think you have 3, 4, even 5 leaders, well, you probably miscounted. Leaders are rare. So don't spend 2 years or even 20 years treading water. You'll just be exhausted. You'll just be frustrated. And you'll never make any permanent progress in your business. Instead, invest your precious time in network marketing into developing leaders. Where do I find leaders? And how do I develop them? What do I teach them? These are important questions. Everyone wishes for a massive organization and more leaders in their group. Life would be wonderful. The bonus checks would be too heavy to carry, and we could watch cable television 24 hours a day. So why not take a shortcut to build your network marketing business? The fastest way to build a large organization is through the help of leaders. We can't build a very large network organization on our own if we only sponsor distributors. Our time is limited. We can only service so many distributors and their problems. Even the best distributors need some service and help. The way to multiply our efforts is to create leaders who can take care of their own groups. Duplicating ourselves by creating new leaders is the only way to build a large, massive organization. Then where do we begin? First, let's define the difference between a network marketing leader and a distributor. Distributors are temporary. They come and go in our business, and sometimes they work hard and build groups, and other times they may continue as a wholesale user of the product, or even quit. And it's okay that distributors are temporary. They should have the right to come and take what they want out of our business. For instance, here are some things distributors want from our business. The ability to save on their personal purchases. A chance to make retail sales and profits. A feeling of belonging to a positive group of people. A chance to develop personally. Some quick checks to pay off the Visa bill. A part-time income to put a child through college. Car payments, or enough money for that one dream vacation. All of these are great reasons to be a distributor. We should support and service our distributors to reach these goals. However, the truth is that this support and service should only take 10% to 20% of our time. Why? Because distributors don't want or need a lot of support. Some distributors may say, oh, don't keep calling me about these opportunity meetings, and I'm not interested in those training meetings either. Call me when the president comes to town or if the company introduces a new product. Otherwise, leave me alone. Again, this is okay. We only want to help distributors get what they want out of our business. We don't want to push our agenda on them. They'll appreciate that we respect them as adults and let them choose their own goals. But remember, your distributors only have a temporary commitment. When the newspaper writes an unflattering article about your company, your distributor might leave. Or when the home office forgets to return the distributor's phone call, again the distributor might quit. Or maybe a little bit of rejection from prospects will quickly end your distributor's career. Distributors come and go, but leaders are the real thing. Okay, we all know that leaders are more important than distributors. Most distributors are temporary and have a temporary commitment towards your business, and that's not bad. Like all of us, they're going to take what they want and then get on with their lives. But leaders are going to stay with you and your business for a long time. So which would you rather have? One leader or 100 distributors? That's easy for us to answer. One leader. However, you might be thinking, yeah, having one leader is great, but maybe 100 distributors would give me some pretty good bonus checks. The problem is that we'll have to replace those 100 distributors as time goes on, and instead of building this residual income that we talk about, we end up with just a full-time job replacing distributors. When we focus on leaders, it changes how we build our business. People always ask me, what's the secret to success in network marketing? I have a quick, short answer that I've used for years. You probably remember it from the beginning of this book. To be successful in network marketing, all you have to do is build leaders and make them successful. In other words, if you had a choice to go out and do a retail party to sell some skincare or vitamins or whatever, that's nice, but that's probably a job. That's not building the type of residual income you want. While this activity is part of your business, this activity will not be the fastest route to your goal of becoming a leader. You have to think differently if you're going to build a large and successful downline organization. You're going to carefully focus on which activities you do because you want to be a leader quickly. I'll show you the difference. Many years ago, I flew over to England to start a downline. I arrived and a friend of mine, John Church, met me at the airport. Because I had a relationship with John, he had already committed to becoming a distributor, even though he had no details. As I walked off my plane, John's waiting for me. He has his first prospect with him, a man named Brian. Well, I gave a horrible jet-lagged presentation and Brian joined. He didn't join because of my presentation. He joined because he was a friend of John Church. Relationships do make a difference. John Church and I then proceeded to drive towards his home so I could get a bit more sleep. Before we arrived at John's home, his mobile telephone rings. It's his new distributor, Brian. Brian says, I have a contact about 8 hours away in Scotland, and I'd like if you could go talk to him. I just hung up the telephone with him, and he said he may or may not be interested, but he'd take a look at the business if you drive up to meet him. He'll come 2 hours closer if you'll drive the other 6 hours. John looked at me and said, 8 hours? I replied, tell Brian that's no problem. We're on our way. Just give us directions. Well, I didn't get that nap I wanted. Instead, John and I just kept driving to Scotland. Along the way, John said, are you crazy? We're driving 6 hours for someone who might not even show up? I said, that's okay. John gasped. What do you mean it's okay? 6 hours up and 6 hours back, and this semi-committed prospect might not even show up? I explained my position. John, we're not going there to give a presentation. We're going there to support Brian. We want to let Brian know that because he wants to be a leader, we're going to help him to the ends of the earth no matter what, until he becomes a leader. It's irrelevant whether this prospect shows up or not. It's no big deal. We're driving 6 hours to show our commitment to Brian. That's the difference in focus I'm talking about. Because we are focused on building a leader, our activity changes also. We'll concentrate on different tasks and take different viewpoints on situations than other networkers because we're building leaders. The above example with Brian and John will also change how you feel about failure when somebody doesn't show up at a meeting or a lot of guests don't come. You'll have less stress and more focus because you're thinking, the reason I'm doing this meeting is to develop this person into a leader. This helps us focus on what we're doing because we know why we're doing our present activity. This focus and understanding helps us move forward in our business, and we make progress. So that's what I mean by changing what you do to build leaders instead of lots of less important activities which can take up your day. Now, earlier, I asked if you would rather have one leader instead of 100 distributors. I'm sure you chose one leader. But just in case you're still skeptical, consider the following example. Generals make a difference. Imagine that you're the supreme dictator of your own country. That's a pretty good job, and you have your own army with 5 loyal generals. You also have 100,000 infantrymen. Of course, the generals represent leaders, and the infantrymen represent distributors in case you're not following this analogy. What happens next is that one night, I sneak across enemy lines and attack your army. I use my pink belt in karate and go chop, 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 and I beat up all 100,000 of your infantrymen. The next morning you wake up and you have 5 generals remaining. All of your infantrymen went home to their mothers for sympathy. Now here's the important question. With only 5 generals left, could you rebuild your army? Of course you could. That's the importance of leaders. When things go bad and everyone abandons ship, you can still rebuild your organization if you have loyal leaders. What if the opposite happened? What if I were to sneak across enemy lines and kidnap your 5 generals? What would happen then? The next morning you wake up and all you have remaining are your 100,000 infantrymen with no leadership or direction. They start marching in circles, firing inward, stepping in latrines, and getting lost. It's a total disaster. So as you see, generals are everything. Some networkers build leaders. Other networkers are just busy. That explains why some networkers can work for a few years and finally retire from their business. These networkers focused all their activity on building leaders. The other networkers, the ones that were just busy, well, they're still just busy. If you're not convinced that building leaders is important by now, well, I don't know what else I could say. Okay, let's get some leaders. We need a step-by-step plan. And that's easy because I studied engineering. If you're not familiar with engineers, we need a step-by-step plan for everything. That's why we find it hard to dance without blueprints and instructions, and no one has given us the complete rule book on matching clothing. Thus, our fashion tastes are different. For instance, when engineers walk, we have a plan. We're thinking left foot, then right foot, left foot, then right foot, etc. Anyway, back to our detailed plan. We're going to create our master plan in 3 easy steps. By mastering each step one step at a time, we'll end up with an organization of leaders. Here are the steps to master. Step 1. Define what a leader is. Step 2. How to find leaders. And Step 3. What to teach leaders. Step 1. Define what a leader is. Before we go looking for leaders, wouldn't it be a great idea to know what a leader looks like? It's a lot easier to find somebody if we know what he looks like. On a recent teleconference training call, I asked the group, does anybody on tonight's call have a good definition of what a leader is? The answers were, someone who's willing to step up and help encourage others. Someone who makes sure that he gets done what needs to be done. Somebody who's coachable. Somebody who's good with people, a good communicator. Someone with a vision. Someone who wants to learn and wants to succeed. And someone who commits to taking the action that's required to make it to the top. And that was the list. The rest of the callers were silent. I don't think they ever thought about this question. I can't imagine how they looked for a leader if they never even knew what a leader looks like. What's my definition of a leader? I have 3 definitions of a leader. These aren't the only 3 definitions. They're not all inclusive. These are just 3 starting definitions to give us an idea of what we're looking for. The first definition I heard is from a man named Tracy Dietrich in Dallas, Texas. He says that leaders are professional students of the business. In other words, leaders actually read the sales manual that came with their distributor kit. By this definition, everybody reading this book would be a leader. We are students of network marketing, always looking for new ideas and information. Leaders listen to audio trainings, read books, go to meetings, and whenever they can, they attend company conventions. You'll see leaders hanging around with the active leaders hoping to pick up a good idea. I like this definition. It makes it easy to spot leaders. Just go to any training meeting and you'll see the chairs full of leaders. Leaders want to learn. Sounds good, but what's my second definition of a leader? This definition is a little harder to explain, but easy to observe. Imagine that you decide to take a vacation to Hawaii. You're going to miss your local weekly opportunity meeting. Somebody will have to conduct your weekly meeting. A leader conducts the opportunity meeting, makes sure the product display is there, pays for the room, and assumes the responsibility to make sure that everything runs smoothly. And you don't have to call from Hawaii to see if it was done. In other words, you're on vacation, and you don't have to worry or check on anything. This leader was glad you left town, so he could take the responsibility. This is a pretty good definition of a leader. He's someone who does his business without your constant motivation and checking. He's someone you don't have to worry about. The third definition of a leader is the toughest, though. This definition separates the so-called leaders from the real leaders, and here it is. A leader is someone who handles problems. Let's say there's a problem in the downline. Mike didn't get his order, or Mary talked longer than Al, or there was some bad news in the local press, whatever. A leader handles the problem. Your leader will call the home office to trace the order. We'll help Al understand why Mary talked longer, or support and counsel a devastated distributor who is upset over some bad publicity. The leadership test is this. Will the problem filter upline to you? If you have a distributor you think is a leader, but the distributor is still passing problems up to you, this distributor doesn't qualify to be a leader. This is a tough test, but it separates leaders from the crowd. Now we have 3 clear descriptions of a leader. We know exactly what we're searching for. Now that we have a really good grip on what a leader is, the next question in your mind should be, Step 2. How do I find leaders? Step 2. How do I find leaders? That's simple. There are only 2 ways to get leaders. The first way to get leaders is to steal them. We talked about that earlier, how a new distributor thinks, maybe if I make this leader a really great offer, I can steal him from his upline. He'll quit his present company and come join my opportunity instead. Yeah, let me offer him an extra $500 a month more than he's making now. Ouch. If this leader can be bought once, this leader can be bought again. So we could steal leaders, but the problem is that we will only end up with temporary leaders. This means we would have a job for the rest of our lives replacing leader after leader, wouldn't we? This isn't what we're looking for. You see, a lot of distributors advertise for leaders. They try to persuade leaders to join them with the newest hot deal because it costs 1/10 of a cent less or it pays 1% more. But what happens when someone else charges 2/10 of a cent less or pays 2% more? That temporary leader is gone. Plus, leaders usually aren't sitting around the house unemployed answering ads from desperate sponsors. They're not waiting. They're out doing something. It's a full-time job replacing temporary leaders. It's not really building a permanent, loyal network marketing organization. Let's save time and eliminate further discussion about stealing leaders because that's not really what we want to do. We want permanent income. So what is the second way to get leaders? The second way to get leaders is to build them from scratch. In other words, we're going to find a distributor who is not a leader now. Then we're going to teach him exactly how to become a leader. But there is a challenge. If this distributor is not a leader now, he's going to look exactly like any other temporary distributor, right? So what does a leader look like? Let's talk about the profile of a leader. At a leadership event, I asked all the leaders to stand up, look around at the other leaders, and see how many of the other leaders were like them. After looking around, the leaders couldn't find anyone else like themselves. The lesson? Don't spend too much time trying to get people to be like you, to act like you, to do exactly the same things that you do, etc. It's okay to have leaders who are not carbon copies of yourself. Allow them the freedom to conduct their business their way. One system will not fit everyone. Having a system is great. Most new distributors want a system. Just remember that one size doesn't fit everyone. So what do we look for? How do we know who to build into a leader? How do we avoid wasting time building the wrong person who will never become a leader? Have you ever worked with someone who is coachable, committed to action, wanted to be a leader, and that person never became a leader? Has that ever happened to you? Have you experienced the wasted time and effort? Well, I spent my first 15 years in network marketing with this same frustration. I did this. I said, if you want to be a leader, let's go for it. I practically moved in with a committed distributor. We drove all over the country together. We made phone calls together. We gave meetings together. I taught the distributor everything I knew. And most of the time, he didn't become a leader. I ended up wasting a lot of my time. The distributor wasted a lot of his time, and nothing permanent was accomplished. That all changed when I met a guy named Tom Paredes. He came up to me and said this, "Big Al, you're an idiot." Of course, this immediately got my attention. I said to myself, I better listen to this guy. He's right. He's telling the truth. I've been wasting all this time working hard, but training the wrong people. Tom Paredes continued. He said, if you're going to train everybody who says that he wants to be a leader, it's not going to work. Talk is cheap. Well, I asked the obvious question. So how do you know who to train and who not to train? Everyone wants to be a leader. They told me so. How do you know which one to work with? Tom Paredes answered, you simply give them a test. I smacked my forehead. I just wasted 15 years. Why hadn't I given these candidates a test? Well, because I never thought of it. There's an old saying that goes like this. Don't believe what people say. Only observe what they do. And now that I knew that I should give the candidates a test, what would be my next obvious question? You're right. What kind of test should I give them? Again, Tom Paredes had a simple answer. He said, you give them a book. Tell them to read the book and that you'll check back with them in 3 days to discuss the book. Now, it all made sense. Imagine that you were in a business and you sponsored me. I said that I wanted to learn how to become a leader, so you tell me, Big Al, here's a book that's really going to help you build your business. I know you want to be a leader. Today's Monday. Why don't we get together on Thursday and discuss what's in this book? I'll show you how you can use the principles in this book in your business. Of course, I'll thank you for the book and say that I'm looking forward to our Thursday meeting. Well, Thursday comes and you call me. I start making excuses over the telephone and say, well, I couldn't read the book on Monday because that's when Monday Night Football comes on television, and then on Tuesday I had to work overtime on my job, and Wednesday night's family night. That's when the family goes out and I can watch television in peace. So I really haven't read the book yet. Well, what would that tell you about me? That says, hey, if I can't put forth enough effort to read the book, what chance is there that I would put forth enough effort to take guests to meetings, to go to other trainings and listen to audios, to drive to conventions, to put up with problems and challenges on my way to the top? This doesn't mean that I'll always be a non-leader. It just means that at this time in my life I'm not willing to make a commitment. It doesn't mean I'm a terrible person. It just means that, hey, I'm not going to put forth the effort to learn to be a leader right now. It's important that we give this test before we invest time in training a distributor to become a leader. If we don't perform this test, any time that we spend with an uncommitted distributor is wasted. We may be stealing time from somebody who desperately needs to be a leader. But what happens if you give me a book and the next morning I give you a call at 6 a.m.? I say, I know it's early, but I'm wired with excitement. I've highlighted the book and made an outline. I know it's 6 a.m., but let's get together for breakfast. If we hurry up, we can have breakfast at 6:30 and talk about this book before I go to work. What would that tell you? Ka-ching! We have a winner here. This is a simple test, but it makes all the difference in the world. By the way, I haven't mentioned which book to give as a test, have I? Of course, you can give them a Big Al book because they'll learn great network marketing skills. Any of my wonderfully written books would do. But it doesn't matter which book you give as a test. Why? Because it's only a test. You're only checking for action from your potential leader. Remember, almost everyone will say they want to become a leader, but talk is cheap. You have to check for that action commitment. So if you don't have a book handy, you can give them a National Geographic magazine, right? It doesn't matter. You're only checking for action. By the way, if you don't have a book or a magazine, what else can you give as a test? You could use a video, an audio, or have your potential leader listen to a conference call, or send him to a store for milk and cookies. It's only a test. But if you don't have a book, an audio, or even a video, you might reconsider your leadership capabilities. Danger, danger, depression approaching. When you give your potential leadership candidates this test, I have to give you this warning. You might get depressed. After reading about this test, you'll want to grab a book and give the leadership test to your brother-in-law, your friends, and your best distributors. You might expect too much from these people. Let me tell you a story about a friend of mine in Canada. He was doing pretty well with his business, but after he heard about this leadership test, he went out and gave this test to some of his distributors. He called me a year later and said, I took your advice last year and I gave my best distributors the leadership test. I gave them all a book. Here's what happened. All of my so-called potential leaders flunked. I felt really bad and totally depressed. Then here's what I did next. I gave this same test to a bunch of second stringers. You know, the people who didn't drive as nice a car, didn't have as many contacts, didn't have as big of a vocabulary, didn't seem like the salesman, just ordinary distributor who weren't quite as good as my top people. Again, most of these second stringers failed. However, a few of these distributors passed the test, and I spent the last year working with them. It's been the most productive year of my life. I don't have to call these people to make sure they're coming to meetings. They call me to make sure that I'm going to be there. We have the most positive people at our opportunity meetings, people who are motivated, people who are going places. It's been a fantastic year. The reason I tell you this story is not because it has a happy ending. I tell you this story because here's what will happen after you read this book. You'll give this leadership test to a lot of your best distributors, and most of them are going to flunk. And then you'll say, I know my brother-in-law would really make a great leader, and the only reason he didn't read the book is whatever. And you'll start making up excuses for people who aren't ready to become a leader. Then you'll start investing time with really nice people who didn't pass the leadership test and won't become leaders. That's bad for business. So be prepared for some disappointment. Don't take the results personally. You're only looking for distributors who pass the test and are willing to invest action to back up their words. Don't invest leadership training time with distributors who don't pass the test. Let me give you an example of the conversations you'll have with distributors who don't pass the leadership test. The distributor says, I've been working this business for 3 months now and I'm just not making any money. This business doesn't work. Big Al replies, strange. This business seems to work for some, and if this business works for some and doesn't work for others, then maybe the business isn't what makes the difference. There must be some other factor. Well, the distributor says the products are too expensive. That's why I can't make this business work. And Big Al says, strange. I think that everyone in our company has the same products. I don't think any of the leaders get a special set of products with special prices. The leaders get the same products as the other distributors. I don't think the products are what makes a difference in your business. And the distributor says if the compensation plan paid better, it'd be easier to get prospects to join. Why doesn't the company pay out more money on personal enrollments? Big Al again says, strange. I think the leaders have the same compensation plan as the other distributors. And the distributor replies, so what are you trying to say? Are you saying that it's my fault? Are you accusing me of not being a leader? And Big Al says, well, let's see. Is it okay if I ask you a few questions about how you're attempting to build your business? Distributor says, sure, go ahead. Big Al says, when you give presentations to prospects, do you know the 3 reasons why prospects make the decision to join? The distributor thinks about it. 3 reasons. Well, I guess I really don't know that one. I'm not sure what the 3 reasons are that determine the prospect's decisions. And Big Al says, well, when talking with prospects, do you address the 3 questions prospects need to know in order to make an intelligent decision to join or not to join? 3 important questions, huh? The distributor says, no, I don't think I'm familiar with them. Maybe I don't answer those questions in my presentation. And Big Al says, well, when you give a presentation, what's the first sentence you use to get the prospect to lean forward instead of leaning back? The distributor says, well, I kind of make it up as I go. I'm not really sure what first sentence to use to get the prospects interested. But it really doesn't matter. I don't have that many appointments or presentations anyway. And Big Al says, not many presentations, huh? Then what 2 sentences do you use to get an appointment? If you use the right 2 sentences, you can get an appointment with almost 100% of the people you talk to. And the distributor says, okay, I don't have a clue. Maybe that's why I can't get appointments for a presentation. And Big Al says, you meet someone at a party. You think they might be a great prospect for your business. What simple 8-word question can you ask that will build trust? Distributor says, I don't know. And Big Al says, what 7-word question will create an interested prospect on demand? The distributor says, I guess maybe I might do better if I knew what to say and do. Big Al says, where's the best place to find good prospects? The distributor says, I wish I knew where to find good prospects. And Big Al says, well, how can you turn neutral prospects into good prospects? The distributor says, no idea. And so the conversation went. Frustrating, isn't it? A distributor wants to earn big bonus checks but won't invest the time and energy to learn the skills necessary to earn the big bonus checks. And here's the sad part of this conversation. All of the answers to the questions I asked were on the training CDs I loaned him 2 months earlier. Instead of learning what to do, this distributor failed the leadership test and watched television and made a few unsuccessful prospecting calls and convinced himself that the business doesn't work. Well, he's right. The business doesn't work. We work. I did a poor job of covering this important fact with the new distributor when he joined. He's not totally to blame. It's hard to know what you don't know. Someone has to make distributors aware of what they don't know. That's just one of our jobs as a leader. We can't assume that new prospects know everything they need to learn and master to become successful. But before you invest that time in training, make sure that distributor passed the leadership test first. You can run with 1,000 leaders, but you can only drag one. We can't build a huge team without leaders, and we can't build leaders if we're dragging people with us every step of the way. Let's move on. We've given our distributors the leadership test and identified people who look like ordinary distributors, who act like ordinary distributors, but these are special people. These chosen few will now be trained to become leaders. And here's the $64,000 question. Remember step 3? Well, if you don't, let me review the 3 logical steps. Step 1, define what a leader is. We have 3 definitions. The step's easy. Step 2, how to find leaders. We just covered this. Sure, we can find leaders, but they'll be temporary leaders. The permanent way to build leaders is to train ordinary distributors who pass the leadership test to become leaders. And step 3, what to teach leaders. Yes, this is the big question. What do leaders know that distributors don't know? Why not look into that right now? Step number 3, what to teach leaders. Look at it this way. You've taught your new distributor to be a good distributor, and that means you taught him all about the products, all about the company, how to be loyal, how to create rapport with prospects, basic icebreakers to get presentations, how to network, how to be positive, how to sponsor effectively, how to retail products, how to duplicate his efforts, etc., etc., etc. After teaching your distributor all these important skills, you now have a really well-trained distributor. But you don't have a leader. So now you decide you're going to teach your distributor to become a leader. What are you going to teach him? What must this distributor know that will make him a leader? Great question. I'd like you to stop listening now and think about this question. Why? Because as busy networkers, we get so involved with building a business that we fail to stop, think, and plan exactly what we should be doing. Here is your chance to plan. Think about what you should be teaching your potential leader. And it's not on that list I just read off to you. If you're like most people I talk to, you probably didn't come up with an answer. Now, I'm not sadistic, but I love asking this question. Everywhere I travel throughout the world, I ask the question, now that you've taught your distributor to be a good distributor, how to be positive, how to duplicate, etc., what are you going to teach him so that he learns to become a leader? And the answer is usually dead silence. People just stare blankly into space or stare like a deer into an oncoming automobile's headlights. This question paralyzes networkers because we never think about how to really develop leaders. Here's what many networkers do to attempt to build a distributor into a leader. They teach their distributor to be positive. That's nice, but all they create is a more positive distributor. Or they move in with their distributor. That was my original, very flawed plan. All their waking hours are spent teaching new skills to the distributor. They travel with the new distributor, they do presentations with the new distributor, they attend training seminars and regional conventions with the new distributor. And that's all nice. The leaders bond and build a relationship with their new distributor. However, all they accomplish is developing a really friendly distributor. Having friends is a great thing, but wouldn't it be nice to build a leader or two so that we could have enough money to spend more time with our good friends? But it gets worse. Do distributors waste your time? Has this ever happened to you? Have you said to yourself, this distributor would make a great leader. I'm going to travel with him, help him become positive, and train him with everything I know. And what happens? Most times, it doesn't work out. All of our training and effort is wasted. Our distributor does not become a leader. Worse yet, he may even quit our business. And there you have it. 6 months, a year, or even more of your time wasted. All of our time and effort, and nothing to show for it. Not only did we waste our time, but we wasted our distributor's time too. Could we be teaching the wrong things? In order to know what to teach distributors to build them into leaders, we first must identify the true difference between leaders and distributors. What's the difference? Are leaders taller, more handsome, or more beautiful? Live in better neighborhoods? Drive different types of cars? Do they memorize presentations more accurately? Have outgoing personalities only? Self-starters? Or more focused and driven? Here's the real difference. The only difference between leaders and distributors is how they think. In every situation or problem, a leader will think differently than a distributor. Aha! So if we can train our distributor to think differently when problems, challenges, or situations arise, then we'll have a better trained leader. Great! Well, how are we going to do this? We'll make a list of problems, challenges, and situations, and write down 1, how a distributor would think, and 2, how a leader would think. Once we've completed our list, we'll start training our potential leader, the person who passed the original leadership test. When a problem, challenge, or situation arises, we'll take our potential leader aside and say, there are 2 ways to think about this, as a leader and as a distributor. Let me show you the difference. Then we'll methodically explain the difference between the 2 ways of thinking. A potential leader can't learn what he doesn't know. We must give him the knowledge so he can learn this new way of thinking. If we don't do this, your potential leader will never develop, will flounder aimlessly, and will attempt to learn and memorize all kinds of nice information that won't help him to become a leader. Your potential leader will become frustrated. Here's what happened to me. Back in 1974, I'd been in the business for a few years and desperately wanted to be a leader. A famous leader with our company came to town and said, I'm going to show all of you how to become leaders. Now I'm excited. So there I am sitting in the front row. Well, actually I'm in the second row because I don't want to be called on or volunteered for anything. The famous leader tells our group this: if you want to be a leader, be more positive. I'm sitting there thinking, could you be a little more specific? That doesn't help me at all. There's nothing tangible that I can grasp. I've been trained to be a good employee all my life. My teachers told me to get a good job. My employers say to work hard and I can get promoted to a better job. I think like an employee and you have to tell me exactly what to do. I left that meeting pretty frustrated. I didn't get the knowledge and information I needed to change. The worst part was that I didn't know what to change in order to become a leader. Do your potential leaders suffer the same frustrations? If they do, let's solve their frustration and teach them exactly how and what to think in every problem, challenge, or situation. The best way to show how this works is to give you some practical everyday examples that you can use right away. Let's get started. Imagine that you sell a product. You go next door and sell some product to your neighbor. You come back home, order the product from the home office, and it's on back order. If this happened to you, what would you think? Would you think, this is terrible, I took my neighbor's money and didn't deliver the products. He's really going to be mad at me, and then he'll tell everyone in the neighborhood that I'm dishonest. My reputation will be ruined. I'll never be able to show my face again. Everyone in the neighborhood is going to laugh at me. My company can't even keep the products in stock. This is a simple job. If the company can't even keep products in stock, well, they probably won't be able to pay bonus checks. They probably can't even hire and fire employees properly. In fact, I bet they don't even have employees, just a bunch of answering machines. The company's going to collapse, and Western civilization as we know it will collapse. I quit. Would you characterize this as leadership thinking or as distributor thinking? It's obvious. This is distributor thinking. And you'd get distributor results and a distributor-sized bonus check because of this thinking. Everyone has problems. Leaders and distributors face the same problems every day. Leaders don't become leaders because of lack of problems. They become leaders because of how they think and handle problems. Leadership thinking. How would the leader think? when confronted with the exact same backorder situation. A leader might think, whoa, the product's backordered. These products are so much in demand that even if my customers give me money, they still can't get the product. It's so exclusive and selling so well, the company can't keep the products in stock. My new customer is going to be so impressed, he'll probably order 2 or 3 times more product to make sure he can get some. That means 2 or 3 times more product volume for me, and 2 or 3 times the bonus check. Wow! I hope they bring on some more back orders. Yes! Would you characterize this as leadership thinking or as distributor thinking? Again, it's obvious. This is leadership thinking. And you'd get leadership results and a leader-sized bonus check because of this thinking. Here's what distributors don't know. It doesn't cost anything to change your thinking. Most distributors think, well, I'm stuck with one kind of thinking. There's no way that I can change it. This is the only way to look at situations. This I can't change my thinking viewpoint comes from years of conditioning from parents, teachers, friends, and employers. But this viewpoint isn't true. Of course we can all change our thinking, if we want to. But how do you convince your potential leader that he can change his thinking? With a story. Stories are the best way to change people's thinking. They're easy to remember, and your potential leader can see himself in the story. He can identify with the story. To help your potential leader see that changing one's thinking is possible, try sharing a story similar to this. Imagine that you're driving along one day and a red Ferrari automobile almost forces you off the road. The driver appears to be a young teenager and he's obviously speeding. How do you feel? What do you think about the driver? If your potential leader answers honestly, he'll say, I don't like that teenager. He's reckless and I almost had an accident. Someone should report him to the police and have him arrested. He's a danger to society. Later that day, you get a call from the hospital. It's from your son. Your son says, hi. Just wanted to let you know that the doctor said that I'm going to be okay. I fell off my bike and I suffered a serious cut. I could have bled to death, but fortunately a teenager in a red Ferrari was driving by. He picked me up and raced me to the hospital just in time. Now, ask your potential leader this. What do you think about that teenage driver now? If your potential leader answers honestly, he'll say, you're right. I did change my thinking, and it didn't cost me anything. The situation was the same, and you know what? I could have chosen to change my thinking about that teenage driver even if I didn't get that additional information. You're right, I can change my thinking anytime I choose. Now that your potential leader understands that he can change his thinking, you'll want to teach him this. Point out that there are 2 ways of thinking, leadership thinking and distributor thinking. 1. If you think like a leader, you'll get leader results and leader-sized bonus check. 2. If you think like a distributor, you'll get distributor results and a distributor-sized bonus check. Then give your potential leader a big dose of personal responsibility. Tell him, I'm not going to change your thinking. That's up to you. If you want distributor results, think like a distributor. If you want leadership results, think like a leader. It's strictly up to you which results you want. Pick the results you want in life, and then you'll know what type of thinking to choose. This is a big step, but this is the only way you can effectively build a leader. Because if you don't do this, you're going to spend a lifetime fixing all their problems, answering all their questions, holding their hand, and trying to remotivate them after every challenge. Okay, so what exactly will I teach them? Let's make this concrete here. First, write down all of the everyday problems you encounter in your business. Second, for each problem, write down what would represent leadership thinking and what would represent distributor thinking. And third, write down any appropriate stories that you could tell your potential leader to help him change his thinking from distributor thinking to leadership thinking. That's it. That is what you're going to have to teach them. Teaching with stories. Let's write down some common problems and how we'll teach our potential leader to change his thinking. Problem number 1. My sponsor doesn't help me. Is that a common problem? I hear it all the time. People call me and complain, I can't become a leader, I can't even become a good distributor because my sponsor doesn't help me. This is easy to identify as distributor thinking. Here's the story I tell the caller to help change his distributor thinking into leadership thinking. I am a professional victim. Here's what happened to me when I first started in network marketing. I was in business for 1 year and 10 months and had no distributors and no retail customers. I was an absolute failure. A concerned leader came to me and said, "Big Al, you're not doing very well." I had to defend my failure, so I replied, "Of course I'm not doing well. My sponsor doesn't help me. He doesn't know any more about this business than I do." Then the leader stared at me and said, "Big Al, tell me about your sponsor. Does he sponsor anybody else besides you?" Oh, this was getting personal now. I had to admit that my sponsor had indeed recruited other distributors into the business, but most of them were not successful either. Maybe just 1 or 2 of them became successful. And the leader closed with this cutting remark. He said, "Big Al, tell me about the 1 or 2 other distributors who are successful. Don't they have exactly the same sponsor as you do?" Ouch, that was mean. But all of a sudden I got it. I understood that I couldn't blame my sponsor. After all, success had nothing to do with him because he sponsored successful and unsuccessful people. And if it didn't have anything to do with my sponsor, that left me. My distributor thinking instantly changed to leadership thinking because of this incident. And when I tell this story to distributors who call, do they change their thinking that quickly also? No. Maybe after listening to my story, they changed their thinking just a little bit closer to leadership thinking. You might have to tell several stories over a few weeks to completely change their thinking concerning this problem. You're not going to change someone's thinking from distributor thinking to leadership thinking overnight. However, you have to start somewhere. So why not start accumulating your stories now? What doesn't work? Let me tell you what I found is a complete waste of time. Lectures. Lectures don't work. If you want proof that lectures don't work, just think back to when you were a teenager and how many lectures you received and how well they worked. Point made. Lectures don't work. Stories do. So the best way to change a potential leader's thinking is with stories that illustrate graphically, hey, this is reality. This is what works in the real world. That's what happened to me when I found out that my sponsor was not the determining factor in my lack of success. I couldn't deny the facts. Other distributors had the exact same sponsor I did, and they became successful. At that moment of enlightenment, I jumped from distributor thinking all the way to leadership thinking on that one issue. Unfortunately, I had some other issues too, but I overcame them in exactly the same way, by recognizing a different way of thinking through the power of stories. How about another problem? Let's go through another concrete example of exactly how to use this method. Imagine that my sponsor lives too far away. I can't become successful because my sponsor doesn't come to help me. How are we going to move my thinking from distributor thinking to leadership thinking? Here's a story you could tell me. You say, "Big Al, I know you think that you can't become successful because I live too far away. I can't help you do local meetings, and I can't come to your hometown to help you do 2-on-1 presentations. However, let's imagine that you're taking a flight home to Houston, Texas. There's another passenger sitting next to you on the airplane. Your casual conversation goes like this. Big Al says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" Passenger says, "I'm the president of a local entrepreneurs club. We have 10,000 members, and they're all entrepreneurs. We meet in the evenings because we all have regular jobs, but our club is looking for a part-time business to get into." Big Al says, "Oh, really? What kind of business?" And the passenger says, "Well, we don't want to have stores because that would be boring. We'd be tied down to one location. We're outgoing people and we're interested in sales and marketing. We enjoy meeting, networking, and working with other people. We don't have a lot of money to invest, maybe only a couple $1,000s each, but we're willing to work as hard as we can to build successful businesses. But you know what? I haven't been able to find any part-time business for our members yet. And if I don't find something pretty soon, they're going to throw me out of office. I'm pretty worried about that." And you say, "So what are you thinking, Big Al?" You're probably thinking, "Oh man, I've hit the mother lode. My business opportunity is going to be perfect for her members. She's going to thank me." And then, Big Al, you ask, "Oh, by the way, where do you live?" And the passenger says, "I live in Miami." And you say, "Well, now, Big Al, you're going to throw up your hands in despair and say, "Oh no, that's too bad. I could never sponsor you because I wouldn't be local. You can't become successful in my business unless I live close to you." At that point, I change my thinking. I understand that if I keep believing that the sponsor must live locally, I would pass by many great opportunities. In fact, if I keep that distributor thinking, that would mean that I could never sponsor someone more than 10 miles away from my house. After you tell me that story, will my thinking move from distributor thinking to leadership thinking? Maybe not all the way, but I'm getting closer, right? So why not tell me this story next? It's called the gold mine. Imagine you're standing in a gold mine. There are hundreds and thousands of pure gold nuggets scattered at your feet. Gold nuggets equaling opportunity for those of you who aren't following the path of this analogy. But your sponsor isn't there. There's no one to tell you to pick up the gold nuggets and put them in your pocket. So what do? You go home and watch cable television because your sponsor didn't help you. Silly, isn't it? When you join network marketing, we're providing an opportunity, not an entitlement. It's up to us to take advantage of the opportunity, or we can complain about the company's newsletter, the color of the product label, or our not-too-helpful sponsor. So our success in network marketing is up to us, not our sponsor. In fact, we can choose to be successful or not, even if our sponsor didn't exist. But try this story to make things even more obvious to the distributor who still believes his sponsor must be local and helpful. This one's called the class reunion. Let's say you're at your class reunion. One of your old classmates says, "Wow, you're in network marketing. That's great. I always wanted to be a network marketing distributor. Would you be my sponsor? Please? Please? I'll work harder than anybody you ever sponsored." Unfortunately, your classmate now lives in New York City, 500 miles away. If you believe that a distributor can't be successful unless she has a local sponsor, what are your choices? You could sell your home and move your family to New York City so that you could be her local sponsor. But that means you'd have to move again to Chicago if you sponsored someone new there, and then to Tulsa, and so on. Or what happens if your classmate moves from New York City to Florida? Does that mean that you'll have to move to Florida? Gets complicated, doesn't it? So when distributors say, "I can't be successful because I don't have a local sponsor to help me," simply ask them if they're willing to move every time they sponsor a non-local distributor. Let's do one more concrete example. My products are too expensive. Nobody wants to pay that much. Sound familiar? Does this sound like distributor thinking to you? Distributors believe that prospects make their buying decision based on price. Will it be hard to change their thinking? Not if we use stories and examples. So let's imagine that I'm a potential leader, but my belief that the products are too expensive is holding me back. You want to change my thinking from "the products are too expensive" to "the products are affordable because prospects really want what they have to offer." You take note of my distributor thinking and attempt to change my thinking, not with a lecture, but with the following story. "Big Al, I know you think that the products are too expensive. You could be right. But I think a lot of people buy for convenience, quality, comfort, extra features, or prestige. Most people will pay more for products when they can get this extra convenience, quality, comfort, extra features, or prestige." But I reply, "No, I don't believe you. People buy because of price. They want to save money and will buy the least expensive products they can." So you tell me, "Big Al, you could be right. Maybe a lot of people go out and buy the least expensive products. I don't know. Let's go and find out, okay?" You take me outside and we stand on the street corner. You ask me, "Big Al, what's the cheapest automobile you can purchase?" I think for a minute and say, "Mini Kia automobile? That's the least expensive car you can get. It has 4 wheels and a steering wheel, and it'll get you from point A to point B." And then you say, "Let's stand on this street corner. Since people buy on price, I'm sure most people will purchase the least expensive automobile that they can get, a Mini Kia. I bet we'll see a lot of Mini Kia automobiles drive by. In fact, I think over 50% of the cars that will pass us by will be Mini Kia automobiles." As we stand on that street corner, what types of automobiles are passing us by? Well, first there's a Chevrolet, then a Ford, then a BMW, then a Toyota, then a Dodge, another Ford, a Cadillac, a Lexus, another Ford, a Volkswagen. and we don't see a single mini Kia. You turn to me and say, is it possible that people buy automobiles for prestige, comfort, or quality, and not based just on price? I haven't seen a single mini Kia yet. I don't think anybody purchases automobiles just based on price. People want image, comfort, special features, more speed, or prestige. But hey, I could be wrong. Tell you what, let's go to another street corner. This could just be a bad location. We walk to another street corner. What do we see? Nissans, Toyotas, Fords, Chevrolets, BMWs, Mercedes, Cadillacs. Not a single mini Kia. You turn to me and say, gee, it doesn't look like anybody purchased an automobile based on price. Everybody purchased comfort, color, convenience, or prestige. Let's go to another corner and look at some more automobiles. And I say, no, I get the point. Again, you've changed my thinking. No longer do I believe that prospects purchase solely on price. And did my thinking change from distributor thinking all the way to leadership thinking with this one story or real-life adventure? No. That would be too easy, wouldn't it? But you have changed my thinking at least a little bit. You'll have to tell me more stories or give me more examples over the next few weeks to gradually get my thinking all the way to leadership thinking. So, what's another story to change my thinking about price? How about the pizza story? To reinforce my thinking. It goes like this. Big Al, did you ever order pizza? Did you ever feel like just taking it easy and not cooking an evening meal? Did you ever feel like picking up the telephone and ordering a pizza delivered to your home while you watched videos or television? Of course you have. Everyone orders pizza on occasion. But is that the most inexpensive way to have a pizza? No way. You're paying for someone else to prepare it, and for someone else to deliver it to your home. That's definitely more expensive than growing the ingredients yourself, preparing and cooking the pizza yourself, and definitely more expensive than purchasing a simple frozen pizza and cooking it yourself. So why do you spend the extra money? Taste? Better quality? Convenience? Comfort? And you probably spend 2 or 3 times as much money by not preparing it yourself. Whoops, you got me. Even I don't buy on price alone. And now my thinking edges just a bit closer to leadership thinking. Just think of all the possibilities of proving to your distributor that people don't buy on the lowest price. You could stand outside an expensive shoe store in the shopping mall and watch all the ladies leaving with their purchases. You could simply ask women, do you buy the cheapest jewelry or the cheapest perfume? Do men buy the cheapest beer in bulk, or do they pay premium prices at their local bar? Or is there one dentist in the city who charges the lowest price? Does he have all the dental business in the city? Most airplanes have a first-class section. Who sits there? Is buying a concert ticket the least expensive way to listen to your favorite music? Or maybe a simple conversation might do. One of my distributors still insists that people buy on price. He couldn't understand why someone would pay more for convenience, quality, a relationship with the seller, etc. So here's how the conversation went. The distributor said, if we don't have the lowest price product, how can you expect me to make any sales? And Big Al says, do you always buy at the lowest price? Well, what do you mean? Let's say that you stop at a gas station to put fuel in your car. Do you ever buy a drink, candy bar, or a snack? The distributor says, sometimes, not often though. Big Al says, does the gas station offer the lowest price of your drink or snack? Or could you have purchased them cheaper in bulk at the local warehouse superstore? The distributor says, okay, maybe sometimes I shop for convenience, but not often. Big Al says, if you're always shopping for the lowest price, do you constantly go from store to compare prices? The distributor says, well, sometimes I don't have the time, so I guess you're right. Sometimes I might pay more. Big Al says, do you shop on the internet for the lowest price? Distributor says, sometimes. It's a lot of hassle trying to visit all the different websites and figure out what the shipping costs might be. And then I'm not sure if the website with the lowest price is legitimate. And then if I haven't purchased from them before, I have to fill out all my information again in these long forms and then the new credit card information. And I think I get the point. Big Al says, if we make it easy, convenient, and friendly for our customers, they won't care about the lowest price. Our customers want quality products at a fair price, and with today's lack of customer service, they enjoy talking to a live person. Simple little conversations and stories can change people. Instead of unfocused, random conversations with our potential leaders, we need to be teaching new lessons and viewpoints to help others rise in their business. Want another example of conversation with a distributor? Now you be the judge. After hearing this conversation, ask yourself, am I willing to invest time in teaching this person to be a leader? Here's the conversation with an unmotivated, broke, and afraid to take personal responsibility downline distributor. Now that's a hint. Big Al says, you should at least invest $100 a month, $25 a week in your business for products, sales aids, training materials, promotions, advertising, etc. Are you willing to do that? The distributor says, nope, I can't do that. I don't have any money. Once I pay my bills, there's nothing left. Can't I just collect a few bonus checks first and then build a business? Big Al says, life doesn't work that way. Let's look at your present situation. You've worked 10 years for the same company. You're an adult and you're telling me that you haven't managed to save $100 total in all those years of work? Are you telling me you haven't had the business skill or ability to save a total of $10 a year? That's only 1 week's work on a paper route or a part-time job. The distributor says, yep, the situation's grim, but all my money goes to paying bills. If I had a few extra dollars every month, I'd invest it in my business, honest. Big Al says, well, how much do you pay for your enhanced cable television and internet? Distributor says, about $100 a month. But I can never give that up. That's our only form of entertainment. Big Al says, do you ever eat out, or do you always cook your meals? The distributor says, we eat dinner out about twice a week. I know it's expensive, but sometimes we're just so tired when we come home from work. That's about $90 a week, about $360 a month. But we do deserve a break now and then. And yes, I buy lunch 2 or 3 times a week also. But I consider it a good break from the boredom of the office. Big Al says, do you smoke or drink? Distributor says, cigarettes are $10 a pack and I smoke a pack a day. But hey, I'm addicted. I can't do anything about that. You don't expect me to give up smoking to build a business, do you? And don't get on me about my drinking. It's the only way I can unwind after a tough day. Well, how about weekends, Big Al says? Are they free? Could you take on a few odd jobs to have a little extra money to build your business? The distributor says, yeah, I have weekends off, but I have a lot of chores and duties around the house. It's the only time of the week I can catch up and get a bit of rest and maybe get in a game of golf. Golf, Big Al says. Do you pay for green fees and clubs and drinks and whatever? Distributor cuts him off and says, I'm not putting away my golf clubs to build a business. Golf takes only 3 or 4 hours of my week anyway. Big Al says, so what plan do you have to free up $25 a week to build your network marketing business? And the distributor says, that's what I'm asking you. Tell me what I can do to get my business going. Nothing has worked so far. So what are you going to do about it, Mr. Sponsor? Sound familiar? I don't think a lot of commentary is needed. Even in the poorest neighborhood, you'll find people who order pizza and pay extra to have it delivered to their door. People who have expensive mobile phones. People who pay to go to parties and concerts. It's not a matter of not having money. It's a matter of priorities. If your prospect fails to perceive enough value in your opportunity, there never will be money for promotion, advertising, training, and samples. The solution is obvious. We must create the value of our opportunity in our distributors' minds, or make the choice of not investing time with this distributor to teach him to become a leader. Unfortunately for the distributor, most times we have to make the decision to invest our time with someone who's ready. Can't think of any stories to use for your problems? Well, why not borrow another explanation that I use? Let's say that your new potential leader thinks this. I can't become successful because my sponsor doesn't help me. It's too hard for me to become successful because my sponsor dropped out, only orders products, never calls, and all my upline are useless products users who don't want to build a business. There's no one to help me. I can't do it alone. All the blame lies with my low-life, lazy, good-for-nothing bonus-collecting sponsor. Why not tell your potential leader this? Do we have any leaders in our company? Of course we do. If it takes a leader to sponsor and develop a leader, that means every leader in your company was sponsored by a leader. What are the odds of that? I don't know, let's look. Then systematically go through all the leaders in your company and see who really sponsored them into the business. I bet you'll both be surprised that most leaders were sponsored by somebody who didn't care, somebody who quit or just dropped out. Think about it. Pick all the networking leaders you know. Some leaders have successful upline sponsors, and most leaders were sponsored by unsuccessful distributors. Many of the top networking leaders today had upline sponsors who were total jerks or even dropped out of the business. They made their success from their own efforts, not from handouts and special gifts and favors. Or look at it this way. Most upline sponsors have some successful distributors and some unsuccessful distributors. If both unsuccessful and successful distributors have the same sponsor, what's the only variable? That's right, the distributor. This conversation tells it all. Some years ago, I had this telephone conversation with a disgruntled distributor. He couldn't figure out why he and his distributors were unlucky, yet other distributors were lucky and quickly became leaders. This distributor hated his company, his products, his upline, his downline, and network marketing in general. The conversation went something like this. The distributor says, I can't become successful in network marketing because my company is destroying my business. They ship products late, bonus checks are wrong, the staff is rude when my downline calls for help, they have too many back orders. So Big Al says, are there any successful leaders in your network marketing company? The distributor says yes. Do these leaders get their products and bonus checks late and suffer from back orders also? The distributor says, well, yes, but it's different for them. Big Al says, do you think that the home office personnel are only rude to your downline, or do you think the successful network marketing leaders in your company have downlines who talk to the same employees? Okay, I get your point. I guess the company, its products, and its employees are not responsible for my success or lack of success. In fact, no matter what they do, they can't make me successful. So if other leaders are successful with my company, I guess it's not the company that caused me to fail. And Big Al says, well, that's right. A company can't make you successful. The distributor says, I guess the real problem is that my network marketing company is not going through the momentum phase. All the successful leaders have an organization already. I can't build a big organization now because the company isn't growing. And Big Al says, when a company is growing fast, is it possible to have a particular group growing slowly or even getting smaller? And the distributor says, I guess so. Sure, I can see where a group with a lousy leader could be disintegrating while the overall company is growing. And Big Al says, well, when the company is growing slowly, or not at all, is it possible to have a particular group growing fast? The distributor says, yeah, I guess a leader could build a fantastic organization, while the rest of the distributors in the company are sitting on their backsides. So the fact that my company is not in the momentum stage really doesn't explain why my business is going poorly. Now, after thinking about it, I see that the real problem with my business is that I have a useless, lazy, greedy, worthless sponsor. He never calls me, has bad breath, doesn't know anything about our business, shows too much hype, sometimes is too boring, and really hasn't done a thing to build my business. So Big Al says, tell me a little bit about your sponsor. Does he have other first-level distributors? How are they doing? Well, my sponsor has about 15 first-level distributors. Most have dropped out, some are struggling like me, and 3 or 4 are doing pretty good. And Big Al says, the 3 or 4 distributors who are doing pretty good, who's their sponsor? And the distributor thinks, ouch, I see. The successful distributors have the exact same sponsor as I do. You're right. I guess my problem isn't my sponsor. And Big Al says, well, maybe you should stop looking for a better company, a better time to join another company, and a better sponsor. Sounds like these aren't your problem. Do you know what your problem is? And the distributor says, it must be something else. Just can't put my finger on it. I know that somebody's keeping me from success, somebody close by. I just don't know who. I'll let you know when I figure it out. I get a lot of phone calls like this. These distributors never ask for advice, so I don't give any advice. It just isn't their time yet to move toward becoming a leader. Unsuccessful distributors are always looking for someone else to make them successful. They believe that success comes from outside influences, such as the company or their sponsor. Outside influences can't make anyone successful or unsuccessful. The real, ugly, disgusting secret in network marketing is that success comes from within the network marketing distributor. It's a personal thing. Don't give up control. If you give up control and the responsibility for your success to your upline sponsor, you simultaneously allow your upline to control your failure. No one purposely goes into network marketing saying, "I hope my upline sponsor decides to make me a success and not a failure. I hope my upline is in a good mood today." To give up control of our networking future so easily sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Ask successful networking leaders and they'll tell you they're self-made successes. Most people find it easy to take credit for their success. But if this logic holds true, then every unsuccessful networking distributor would be a self-made failure. Gee, you never hear the self-made failure explanation used in conversation. This line of thinking reminds me of the old saying, behind every successful man is a woman. Of course, behind every unsuccessful man is also a woman, but no one ever brings that up, with the exception of every drunk feeling sorry for himself at the local tavern on Friday night. This is getting easy. Yes, teaching your potential leader new ways of thinking is easy. The hard part was knowing what to teach and how to teach it. But now you have the formula. You simply take a problem and then figure out what distributor thinking is and what leadership thinking is for that problem. Then give them concrete examples and stories to gradually move your potential leader's thinking from distributor thinking to leadership thinking. Your potential leaders will believe their own conclusions. You then end up with a person who thinks like a leader and is on the path to becoming a leader. This is a measurable, proven, efficient track to follow, instead of just randomly saying, "I'll build a relationship and hope this friendly distributor magically becomes a leader." Building leaders is easy once you teach them how to handle problems. If you master this principle of leadership, then you will have less stress, more time, less rejection, no doom and gloom days, no politics, fewer challenges, and it'll be a lot more fun living life as a leader. If your leaders don't master this principle, then you'll hear this very unpleasant conversation from them. "The customer hated the product, the home office didn't make a timely refund, so I lost my distributor. It looks like the company is ruining my business. I want to move to another company where they don't have problems." You and I don't want to hear that conversation, so let's fix that now. It's weird, but no one ever thinks about it. Several years ago, I returned from England where the network marketing community has an unusual and outrageous perspective. I thought they were absolutely crazy, but I noticed that the network marketing community in the United States has the exact same distorted perspective. Is this a secret insanity virus spreading worldwide? Networkers everywhere are killing their businesses, and they don't understand why. Imagine investing hundreds or even thousands of hours into your business, and then systematically destroying your business with an incorrect point of view. So let me give you a little background. How many hours do you think the average networking leader spends doing the following tasks? Listening to downline personal problems. Listening to downline business problems. Making numerous telephone calls to the home office following up lost shipments or product shortages. Apologizing for incorrect statements made by the upline leaders or home office staff. Playing referee between jealous distributors fighting over a single enrollment. Berating home office staff who don't understand network marketing. Keeping track of all the telephone calls that weren't returned promptly. Worrying about greed destroying certain members of the organization. Groaning about unfair treatment and lack of recognition. Trying to recover business that was stolen by unfair competition. Or discussing the company's lack of leadership and responsiveness with other disgruntled sales leaders. If you add up the hours, it's a 40-hour week. These activities take time. How much time can a leader afford on these non-productive, non-revenue generating activities? These activities take physical effort. Leaders are physically exhausted after marathon telephone conversations with professional victims complaining that the world is against them. These activities take mental effort. Leaders lose their mental energy fighting these losing battles. After one of these battles, the leader prefers to become comatose and watch television. There's no enthusiasm left for a prospecting campaign. Who has the problem? Guess what? The distributor doesn't have the real problem here. The leaders have the problem. The leaders have an incorrect viewpoint. Here's what an unsuccessful leader believes. In order to be successful in network marketing, 100% of the home office employees must be perfect. 100% of all distributors must be honorable, charitable, problem-free citizens without a hint of greed. 100% of all distributors must never quit. 100% of all telephone calls must be answered the way they want them. 100% of the home office staff should become instantly available when they call. 100% of all upline leaders should be perfect role models who never make a mistake while speaking. Distributors are never selfish. 100% of all decisions must be perfect. 100% of all decisions must work out perfectly in the future. Everything must be perfect, or they'll just complain and destroy their business, and then look for a new venture with the perfect leaders, the perfect home office staff, the perfect compensation plan, the perfect product at the perfect price that satisfies 100% of all people 100% of the time, etc., etc., etc. Yuck. As Zig Ziglar would say, that's some stinking thinking. So unsuccessful leaders quickly sink into fix-it mode and spend the rest of their mediocre careers making sure nothing bad ever happens to anyone in their downline, upline, or company. Now that's going to be pretty hard in this world. Providing a protective bubble around every distributor is not only impossible, it's insane. This is what unsuccessful leaders say regularly. It's a crisis. It's a crisis. Should I fix it now? No. If your business can't survive a crisis or two, maybe it's time to go back and build a better foundation. And there will be lots of problems in your future no matter how well you build your foundation, because people are human. That's right. Your company, your upline, even your downline are human. And as humans, they have certain characteristics, such as humans make mistakes. Only computers are perfect, and computers don't want to be distributors. Humans are often selfish. Humans are professional quitters. They quit school, quit jobs, quit marriages, quit diets, quit New Year's resolutions, and quit network marketing programs. Humans often fail to return telephone calls. Humans are often rude. Humans often take people for granted. They don't show appreciation to their upline or downline when appropriate. Humans love to criticize. It makes them feel superior and helps them to forget their own personal problems. Humans make terrible decisions. Why do you think there are so many divorces? Or why do you think so many people lose at the horse races? Or why do we eat too many donuts? Humans think they're always right. After all, who do you know that deliberately goes out of his way to be totally wrong? So when distributors, upline, or home office personnel make mistakes, are rude, criticize, or quit, don't be surprised. They're just being human. Why fight human nature? Why not just accept people as they are, as humans? This is the point of view that successful leaders take. They don't waste time trying to change people, fix their perceived problems, or trying to eliminate all the problems in the world. Successful leaders learn to manage problems, not fix problems. And there's a difference. Imagine that you could work hard and magically fix all the problems with your downline, upline, and network marketing company. Phew, that was hard. Now, since you fixed all the problems today, what are the chances that there will be some new problems tomorrow? 100%. Yes, more problems tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and every day in the future. There will always be problems. Successful leaders accept this fact. They simply learn to live with the problems instead of stressing over each problem for the rest of their lives. Look at it this way. There's no such thing as a perfect network marketing company. All the companies hire humans, so of course there are lots of mistakes and problems. What do unsuccessful distributors do? If they see that their present network marketing company has a problem, they quit. They join another network marketing company and hope they never have a problem. Well, what kind of crazy thinking is that? All network marketing companies have problems. Successful distributors and leaders realize that all network marketing companies have problems. You simply choose the company that you wish to have your problems with. Then get over it. Accept the problems and get on with business. Women understand this principle. All network marketing companies have problems. You simply choose the company that you wish to have your problems with. Why? Because they know that all men have problems. You simply choose the man you wish to have your problems with. Men, of course, don't understand this. Because women are perfect, we can't see the analogy. Let your competitors try to fix the problems. Fix human nature and jump from one company to another. Encourage your competitors to do it. Why? This will keep your competitors busy while you build a large and successful networking business. You'll have exclusive access to all the best prospects because your competitors are too busy trying to fix problems. Don't I have to fix some of the problems? The answer? No. Our business will be quite successful if we just concentrate on developing 3 or 4 leaders. Once we have 3 or 4 trained people who think like we do, we're invincible. Developing leaders is everything in our business. Distributors may come and go, problems may come and go, problems may come and stay. But if we develop long-term, loyal leaders, we'll be here forever with regular bonus checks. All these other problems don't have anything to do with locating, training, and developing our 3 or 4 good leaders. Let's look at a typical crisis. Your distributor received his order of 20 different products and one product was missing. The missing item was donut blend number 2. Help, help, my order is incomplete. I don't know how many items are missing, but it's all wrong. Do you think the company's going out of business? It's a natural human tendency to exaggerate slightly when describing a personal problem. The sponsor accepts the problem and becomes depressed. He worries about what would happen if his distributor quits over this massive product shortage. So the sponsor calls his sponsor and says, Help, help, the company has stopped shipping products and is taking our distributor's money. Why are they attacking and destroying our business? It's a natural human tendency to exaggerate slightly when describing a personal problem. His sponsor panics over this massive career-destroying problem, so he calls his sponsor, and that's you, and says, Help, help, the company stopped shipping products and sent a SWAT team out and is now shooting our distributors. You have to stop the killings. Like I mentioned, it's a natural human tendency to exaggerate slightly when describing a personal problem. So by the time you've received the problem, it's a big, big problem. How are you going to react? Are you going to call the home office and add a little exaggeration to the story? Not if you're a successful leader. As a successful leader, you have a rock-solid, stable viewpoint. You know that the only thing that counts is that you locate and develop 3 or 4 good leaders. Period. All the other problems are just a distraction that you can ignore. What do? You reply to your panic-stricken leader and say, Missing products, huh? Well, I don't have access to the home office shipping computer, so why not email them with the details, send a copy to me, and they'll take care of it. Boom. You're done. That's it. No more hysteria or involvement. Now this relatively minor problem is manageable. The distributor with the problem must write down the details in an email. And that's good. Why? Writing down the details is hard. Most people would rather pass the problem on to their upline rather than handle it themselves. After all, it's just human nature. Why not make a simple exaggerated telephone call? That's easier than producing a written report. Writing down the details usually limits the amount of exaggeration. Most people will check their facts again before committing themselves in writing. So what happens? The distributor checks the shipping box again and magically finds the missing product. Donut blend number 2. Problem managed. You're moving on with your business of locating and developing 3 or 4 good leaders for your business. In all of my years of network marketing, only one person ever wrote down all the facts and sent those facts to the company and me. One. That's it. And here's what happened when I received his facts with his problems. I went to lunch. I told myself I'd deal with the problem-laced facts in the morning. The next morning, I got a call from this distributor thanking me for taking care of his problem. It seems the home office called him back, sorted everything out, and he was satisfied. Well, I simply placed that fax in the trash. I never read it, and I never really knew what the problems were. All I know is that I saved hours, days, and weeks of trying to fix problems. Hey, that's a pretty good perspective on how this networking business really works. What would happen if your downline adopted this point of view? Massive growth, massive sales, massive bonus checks. Wouldn't it be nice if your downline never complained? Instead, they simply accepted problems as part of life and then went on their way to build their business? Well, that would be a perfect world. However, there is no rule that says we can't educate and train our downlines towards this goal. Can you imagine how powerful your opportunity meetings would be if everyone was positive and focused on their goals of locating and developing 3 or 4 good leaders? The atmosphere would be magic. With so much positive energy in the room, guests would join without even hearing a presentation. Prospects want to be involved with positive people who know where they're going. What about other problems? Can a human make a mistake during a business presentation? Can there be a typographical error in the brochure? Can an underpaid newspaper reporter jealously write an unfair story about your company or your products? Can an upline leader tell lies, steal customers, counterfeit distributor applications, and steal your dog? Yes, it happens. So what? All these types of problems have nothing to do with your ultimate focused goal of locating and developing your 3 or 4 leaders. Notice a common theme here yet? Let's look at crisis number 2. Back to England. Several years ago, I gave an opportunity meeting presentation to about 50 people. It was in a small hotel room in the north of England. In the back of the room was a brand new distributor. She brought along her husband and her 11-month-old daughter. Also in the back of the room was a prospect with a $1,000 pinstripe suit, manicured nails, the perfect tan, a replica of a very expensive watch, and an attitude. He looked like a stereotypical New York City stockbroker. What do you do when the baby cries? As I proceeded with my presentation, occasionally the baby made a bit of noise. Okay, the baby cried. It wasn't really loud, but it was distracting. Now here's the question. Does a baby crying have anything to do with locating and developing your 3 or 4 good leaders? Notice a common theme here yet? No. A crying baby's not a problem. It's a non-event. It's totally manageable by simply ignoring the crying and continuing with the opportunity meeting. So I did. Guess what happened when the meeting was over? The well-dressed guest left. He was completely turned off by the baby's crying. His parting remarks? How could any professional business allow a crying baby to interfere or distract prospects during a business presentation? I couldn't possibly join a non-professional organization like that. Now here is the million-dollar question you have to ask yourself as a business builder and networking leader. If my prospect quits or doesn't even join because an 11-month-old baby cries, will this prospect ever be one of my 3 or 4 good leaders? The obvious answer is no. At best, this prospect might become a temporary distributor. He'll quit at the first sign of distress, problems, hurt feelings, or stress. Or what if his guest doesn't show up at the next meeting? This person would be devastated. So whether or not this temporary distributor joins or not, it would not make any difference in one's long-term networking career. There will be plenty of bigger obstacles in this person's career that will cause him to quit. Let's look at it this way. The prospect quit before he even started. Why? Because he heard the crying of an 11-month-old baby who didn't even recognize his existence. The 11-month-old baby didn't even know or care that this prospect existed. Yet this 11-month-old baby had the power and control to make decisions for this weak-willed, well-dressed prospect. If this so-called prospect is going to let 11-month-old babies make decisions for him, how well is he going to do in his own business? Not well. Should you fix the problem? No. It would be a total waste of time. Let's say that you banned babies from the opportunity meeting. Maybe you hired babysitters or told families they weren't welcomed if they had children. Anyway, you fixed the problem of babies crying at opportunity meetings. So what? What if the meeting room was too hot? Wouldn't this picky, weak-willed prospect still refuse to join? What if the meeting next door made too much noise? What if the speaker made a mistake during a presentation? What if someone had a bad cough? See the problem? The problem is with the prospect, not with the circumstances around the prospect. You can't go through life walking in front of this prospect and say, "Please smile when you walk past my prospect. Please don't say anything bad about our company in front of my prospect. Please don't let it rain while my prospect is coming to our meeting." This prospect believes that circumstances must be right in order for him to become successful. In other words, he's saying that success is outside of himself. He's dependent on circumstances to make him successful, and he hopes that the 11-month-old baby doesn't make any more decisions for him. Is this prospect ever going to develop into one of your 3 or 4 good leaders? No. The 11-month-old baby might have a better chance. Leadership has nothing to do with the clothes you wear. Who would you rather have in your organization? The mother who brought her 11-month-old baby and her husband to the opportunity meeting? Or the well-dressed, weak-willed prospect who takes directions and career decisions from an 11-month-old baby? The answer is obvious, once you understand the principle of locating and developing 3 or 4 good leaders. Leaders are everything. They are your long-term security. They are your keys to solid growth and consistent bonus checks. Almost everything else you do in networking marketing is trivial. Your major effort is to concentrate on locating and developing 3 or 4 good leaders. Most of the other things we do are a waste of time. Want some examples? Discussing company politics, arguing with know-it-all distributors, retraining uplines, arranging chairs at opportunity meetings, rewriting the prospecting brochure for the 31st time, arranging product displays, memorizing sales pitches, holding hands with weak-willed prospects, correcting people when they're wrong, scolding distributors for missing meetings, wishing you got more money for your efforts, demanding immediate shipment of back orders, demanding that everyone in every circumstance was treated fairly, listening to petty grievances, giving pity to people with hurt egos, trying to save professional victims, forcing distributors to go to trainings they don't want to attend, trying to find someone to blame, wishing people had the same vision you have, telling management how to do their jobs, etc., etc., etc. We don't become successful leaders by solving these problems. And we don't become successful leaders by sponsoring and replacing temporary distributors. Even the president and the pope can't solve all the problems. Think about the resources they have. Money, staff, they're famous, and yet even they can't solve every problem. So what about us with even fewer resources? Of course we can't solve all the problems, so let's get over it. We become successful leaders by locating and developing 3 or 4 other good leaders. Network Marketing Crisis Center, may I help you? Make sure this is not how you answer your telephone. Instead, educate and train your new distributors and potential leaders that problems are natural. Problems are part of life and will be here tomorrow and every day of our lives. So instead of fixing, stressing over, and worrying about problems, simply manage problems and get on with life. You'll have more free time, less stress, and the lifestyle to enjoy those big bonus checks. And you'll find yourself easily answering questions and handling problems when you're focused on locating and developing 3 or 4 good leaders. For instance, if you live 40 miles from your company's home office, you'll have distributors ask you, "Why don't you go over and visit the home office more often?" You can answer, "Because visiting the home office has nothing to do with locating and developing my 3 or 4 good leaders." Or distributors will ask, "Why can't we have donut blend number 8 in chocolate?" You can answer, "What does that have to do with locating and developing our 3 or 4 good leaders?" Or distributors will say, "Mary spoke too long during the opportunity meeting." You can answer, "What does that have to do with locating and developing our 3 or 4 good leaders?" See? It's easy. Once we understand the principles and have the proper perspective on our networking business, everything gets easier. And finally, in case you didn't notice the principle yet, here it is. Our job as leaders is to simply locate and develop 3 or 4 good leaders. The rest of our activities are simply non-events. They just don't matter. Choosing how to handle time-wasting problems. Maybe you've had this happen. Your distributor calls and says, "The product's too expensive. The compensation plan doesn't pay enough, the management stinks, and you're a worthless sponsor." Don't you just hate telephone conversations with your distributors when they're having a bad attitude day? Nothing is right with you or the company. Everything's broken, and your distributor has 100 reasons why everything's impossible to fix. And even if your distributor died and went to heaven on his bad attitude day, he would just complain about altitude sickness. So what can you do? Nothing. The problem is not with the problems. You can argue with your distributor that everything's fine, can be fixed, will be improved, and things will just keep getting better and better. No matter how persuasive your argument, you'll lose. Even if you personally solve all the current problems, your distributor will locate or create new problems. You're in a lose-lose situation. For instance, your distributor telephones and says, "I called the home office and I couldn't get through." Well, what can we do? We can solve the problem for our distributor. We can pick him up, put him in our car, drive him to the home office, walk him inside, cut up the phone lines, and say, "Now talk to my distributor." We solved the problem, didn't we? But as soon as that problem is solved, then what? Our distributor has another problem. "Well, I got my products in the box and I cut my finger opening the box." Okay, we run an ad in the local newspaper and we hire someone to help our new distributor. The new help comes and his only job in life is to open our distributor's boxes so he doesn't cut his fingers. Well, the next problem our new distributor has is, "My sponsor's a jerk." Instead of taking it personally, you offer, "Why don't you get a different sponsor other than me?" Do you realize some people have problems all their lives, and they're going to have to live with these problems? You can't solve all their problems. You can spend all your time and all your effort trying to solve problems and make things perfect, and you're never going to get even close to getting started, are you? And remember, the President, the Pope, and even the Queen of England have tremendous resources at their disposal. And even with all of these resources, they can't solve all of their problems. We have limited resources. We don't have a chance. Well, if you can't fix the problems, what can you do? As I said before, the problem is not with the problems. The real problem is inside your distributor's mind. Your distributor has made a decision that success is not within himself. Your distributor has decided to believe that success is outside of his control and can only be found in outside circumstances. In other words, he doesn't believe he can become a success because success can only be achieved in a perfect world, with perfect people, with perfect products, with perfect prices, with the perfect compensation plans, well, you get the picture. Our world is full of problems. They just won't go away ever. So, success must be achieved in spite of these constant problems. To decide or not to decide, that is the question. Leaders understand success. It's like someone gave us an operator's manual. We realize that in every situation, some people are successful and some are not. So success can't be dependent on the situation. Success must be dependent on the person. Then why do some people become successful and others do not, in the same circumstances or situations? The answer lies in the 6 inches or 15 centimeters between our ears. It's how we decide to think. Yes, the key word here is decide. This is a personal decision about what we think. There's no mind control from devious villains. There are no laws that restrict us from deciding how we wish to think. Each of us has the power to decide how we wish to think in any given situation. This simple decision is what determines our success. I'll give you an easy demonstration. Wow, I'm here. At a recent training session, I spoke about the decisions we make inside of our mind. My conversation with the group went something like this. I said, Were there any problems getting here today? The group said we had to take off work. It's a weekday. That was a big problem. So I said, did the problem keep many of your distributors from coming today? The group replied, yes, they decided that they couldn't take off work. And you said, yet you decided to come, right? And the group replied, we decided to come and miss a day at our jobs. Was there bad traffic coming to this meeting? The group replied, yes, terrible traffic. And you said, any other problems coming today? Group said it was raining, maybe even flooding in some areas, but we decided to come anyway. You asked if there were any other problems. Well, they said some of their friends said they're crazy and having their own business never works. We decided to ignore them and come anyway. And you said, what about parking? There's no convenient parking around here. Well, they replied we had to park several blocks away and walk in the rain. However, we came so far that we decided not to turn back. We just got a little wet coming here. And you said, so you came here today even though all those problems never got solved, right? We are here. The problems are still there. I guess our distributors decided that all those problems had to go away before they could come to this training and become successful. You know what? There's always going to be bad weather, long distances to drive, bad parking, inconvenient days, and yikes! Our distributors will never become successful if they believe the problems have to go away. And you said, well, what if your distributors quit and joined another company? And the group replied, even if they joined another company, there will still be bad weather, long distances to drive, bad parking, inconvenient days. Hey, switching companies doesn't solve anything. You're just going to experience the same problems with another company. So you said, well, what can you do to help your distributors? You can't solve all the problems. Well, they said the only thing we can do is to teach our new distributors that they have the power in their own minds to make decisions. They can look at the problem and choose to decide which group they want to be in, the group that decides that the problem is larger than their dream for success, or the group that decides that their dream for success is larger than the problem. So why do unsuccessful distributors complain, fail, and quit? Because their sponsor never told them the truth about problems. Most distributors believe that problems must be solved. They never look around and notice that the leaders in the group experience the exact same problems. Yet the leaders are successful. They don't understand that problems exist. Most times we can't fix the problem. However, we can decide to choose how we react to the problem. I think our job is to educate our new distributors that all of their problems really occur in the 6 inches between their ears. Then our new distributors will recognize this phenomenon when they hear themselves say, in my mind, the real problem is, who's on this cruise ship? For 25 years, I've organized the MLM Cruise. Networkers from around the world come to spend 7 days relaxing and learning from each other. Let me give you a few problems and reasons why these network marketers shouldn't be there. We have to take 1 week off work. We had to save up money for airfare. We had to save up money for the cruise. We couldn't find a babysitter. It's an important time at work. We get seasick. It's too far. No one offered to pay my way. We've never done this before. What will the neighbors think? We have to pay port taxes too. The cabins are too small. There won't be anything to do. We won't know anybody. And yet, despite all these problems, and I should add that none of these problems were solved, every year network marketers still decide to go on this cruise. Going on this cruise has nothing to do with the problems. It has everything to do with deciding to go. Yet there are thousands of networkers who wanted to go on this cruise but decided they could not go because there were problems. Are there problems and reasons why your business won't work? Sure there are. Lots of problems and reasons that make it impossible to succeed, right? Wrong. The problems have nothing to do with success. The problems are outside of us, and we can personally decide what we think. We can think, sure, there are problems. Most of these problems are with us every day. Yet other leaders succeed in spite of these problems. Maybe I'll decide to become successful too. Or we can think, sure, there are problems. That's why I can't become successful. Poor me. I wish Mom would fix everything for me. The world has put up barriers to my success. These problems are much bigger than my desire to succeed. I'm a professional victim. I guess I'll decide to fail. Do we really think like this? Yes. Kind of pathetic, isn't it? I think we all should keep our spouse or friends close by so they can point out and remind us when we decide to accept failure thinking. Some people will eagerly volunteer for this assignment. So let's look at some of the problems in our network marketing businesses. Let's see if these problems really are bigger than our dreams for success. Here are some problems. The products are too expensive. The shipping costs too much. My sponsor doesn't help me. I wish my sponsor didn't help me. They didn't mention my name in the newsletter. The orders arrived late. Mistakes in my downline report. The bonus check was for the wrong amount. Nobody listens to me. The company doesn't care about my problems. The meetings are too far away. The compensation plan pays too little. Our competitors have no problems. And here's where we're really feeling sorry for ourselves. We should get a salary. We should be paid on effort, not results. My downline works hard but gets discouraged. There isn't enough retail profit. We don't have good video to show our prospects. The president won't talk to me. Nobody's making any money. Nobody's making any sales. Nobody's recruiting. The volume requirements are too high. The volume requirements are too low. We should get paid twice a day. The distributor's kit is too hard to read. The company insists on training to get ahead. The company offers no training. The company should change the compensation plan. The company makes too many changes. My downline never calls me. No one wants to join. The new person doesn't make enough. The leaders don't make enough. We should get a signing bonus when we start. My community is too conservative. My spouse doesn't understand me. My children don't listen to me. My job takes too much time. Saturdays are for football. The company makes too many mistakes. My distributors will all probably join the next new company. I'm perfect and the rest of the world disagrees. The order form is difficult to fill out. It's too hard. And despite all of these problems, the leaders in our company are still successful. And the leaders have the exact same problems we do. Why all this emphasis on handling problems? Because problems happen. They'll continue to happen, and you can't rescue your potential leader every time he says, "Oh no, now we have a problem, and it's a huge, big problem. I feel the disaster approaching." At least one bad event will happen to your business this year. That's life. It's no big deal. No business can go on forever with lucky events followed by good fortune, followed by miraculous good news. We either teach our new potential leader to handle problems, or we won't have a new leader on our team. I don't know anyone who joined the perfect business at the perfect time, with the perfect product, with the perfect pricing, in the perfect market, with the perfect compensation plan, with the perfect sponsor and perfect downline. Do you? We all want our business to have good fortune forever, but occasionally someone steps on our dreams. And for some of us, people step on our dreams more often. If you can't think of any problems in your networking business, see if these look familiar. Your company back orders or discontinues your group's favorite product. The local trash tabloid reports that your company's president is secretly a two-headed alien who performs secret animal sacrifices. Your disgruntled downline distributors form their own competing company and try to steal your leaders. Or out of thousands of product orders, your company made a mistake on someone's order. Shudder, stress, check our wills, sound the panic alert. So what happens when your business has the occasional but inevitable problems? Do you lose your leaders? Do you spend hours on the phone trying to salvage your downline? Do you apologize, sympathize, and worry into the night? I hope not. You should prepare yourself in advance for problems. Your company will have problems. Your upline will have problems. Your downline will have problems. And that's just how life is. If you don't believe that problems will ever happen to your business, trust me, that illusion will pass shortly. How do you prepare your leaders for bad news, back orders, fulfillment mistakes, jealous politics, hurt feelings, phone calls mixed up or not returned, etc.? Simple. Tell them the truth in advance. You might say something like this. John, before you make a total commitment to building your business, you need to know the facts. Our company's not perfect. There will be some problems in the future. Even worse, our company employs humans, and you know how they can make mistakes. The good news is that our company tries its best to fix mistakes when they happen. Now that you know there will be problems in the future, are you still willing to make a total commitment to build your downline? Normally, John will answer, no problem. I understand there will be ups and downs. Thanks for being honest with me. There are problems in every job and business, so I know better than to try to look for perfection. Now, when the inevitable problems do occur, you have prepared your leaders for a little pep talk. Let's say that the problem of the month was the company changed its labels from light green to dark green. Uh-oh. Now your downline is really worried. Your leaders are thinking of switching to another company that offers labels in a very light green. They swear they never want to live through another label color change. Their customers complain. Their distributors feel confused. This problem is now a major crisis and threatens the motivation and belief of your entire downline. But you had the foresight to prepare your downline for the eventual problems. Here's your pep talk. John, remember when you first made the commitment to build your business? We discussed that problems would be in our future and would give us a few stumbling blocks along the way. Well, this label color change is one of those problems. It looks like a big deal now. But if we compare it to a 10 or 20-year career, it's just one of those problems that happen. Sometimes we leap forward, sometimes we take a step or two back, but overall, as leaders, we focus on long-term steady progress. That's what makes us different from the average distributor who has one bad experience and quits. Then the average distributor has to go out and invest and build a brand new group with a new company. That's a lot of time and money invested in training and building a new business. There's no income coming in, just expenses during those transition periods. And just when the average distributor gets to profit in his new network marketing company, bang, another problem pops up. I guess that sums up a difference between average networkers and leaders like us, John. They never make any money because they don't have our long-term vision. I bet if their mother served one bad meal, they'd never visit her again. If their bank made a mistake on their checking account, they'd give up using money. I sure hope you and I can get through to most of our downline that this is just one of those problems along the way. Sure hope they'll have the good business sense we do to see the big picture. Will your pep talk work? Not always. But it's better than no pep talk at all. And your pep talks always work better when you prepare your leaders early in their careers that no company is perfect and that they should expect problems along the way. Will you save the distributors and your leaders' downlines? Not all of them. Many new networkers believe that success comes from signing an application in a hot new company that will never have any problems. They don't believe that network marketing success requires work, effort, patience, and long-term commitment. It almost makes you ill to listen to a new distributor say, "I'm not having anything to do with network marketing. I worked hard for 2 weeks with just an opportunity. And then they had problems. That just ruined any chance I had for success in my life." I wonder if his job only requires 2 weeks of effort, and then he can retire for life. So if a distributor is looking for an excuse not to work, then any excuse will do. I've never seen a plaque that read, "All the world loves a quitter." And you can apply this problem principle to new distributors that you personally sponsor also. If you have a slight teasing sense of humor, you could say this when you sponsor an ordinary beginning distributor. Just as he hands you the signed application and money to join, say this, "Oh, I forgot to tell you something. Next week, our company is going to have a problem, a big problem for our business." The new distributor clutches his chest and says, "What? A big problem? What's the big problem next week?" You reply, "Oh, I don't know. Every week there's a problem in business. I just wanted to let you know that there's no perfect business, ever. Having problems are just part of any business." And then, next week, when a problem does happen, you can say to your new distributor, "See? I told you there'd be a problem." So what's the difference? The leaders choose to think, "I choose to become successful in this business. Even if I solve all these problems, there will be more. I'll just get on with building my business." Now, if it's just that easy, then why don't we all think successfully? Well, most times there's a bigger problem at stake, a problem bigger than all of the problems I've listed here. What's that problem? Self-image. So enough about problems. And as we finish up Volume 1 on leadership, let's start learning how to develop some personal growth and confidence in our potential leaders to increase their self-image. Our self-image. There will never be enough pages in this book to adequately cover the subject of our self-image. I'll leave that discussion to the professional psychologists. However, let's have a limited look at self-image as it applies to how we think. First, it's easy for us to agree that everyone, including us, has a self-image. It's how we look at ourselves. It's how we view our self-worth. It's our way of describing ourselves to ourselves. Second, it's not easy for us to honestly look at our self-image and what it's doing to our lives. Third, our self-image will always keep us from becoming more successful than we see ourselves. It'll turn problems and reasons for failure into undeniable truths in our minds. Our self-image will keep us at the level of success or failure that we are most comfortable with. Really? Will our self-image keep us from success? Yes. So let's take a brief look at this self-image we have of ourselves and how it tells our mind what to think. If we see ourselves as total losers, do you think our prospects and distributors will sense that in our voice and actions? Yes. Have you ever met someone with a poor self-image? Even if they give the perfect recruiting presentation, their self-image will add this to the end of their presentation. And you're probably not interested. Nobody really wants to join. Everybody I've talked to turned me down. The economy's getting bad. Sometimes it rains hard around here. The company doesn't pay enough. My sponsor doesn't help me. It seems that I always pick the wrong deal. I don't know why I'm doing this. If we see ourselves as total winners, do you think our prospects and distributors will sense that in our voice and actions? Yes. Now our prospects and distributors will want to be associated with us. They feel we have skills, information, and direction in our lives. They want to follow us to success. Do some distributors really see themselves as losers and failures? Yes. Look around you for proof. Listen to people as they say, "Oh, that always happens to me. Oh, I never win those things. Nobody will ever want to do that. I'm sure I can't do that. Only other people can be that fortunate. Nobody loves me. It's too hard. I can't be successful because it's impossible to get ahead because no one will want to join because..." All of these statements are coming from these distributors' minds, and their minds are being controlled by their self-image. They see themselves as unsuccessful. They see themselves as victims. They see themselves as having continuous problems and limitations in their lives. Some people define themselves and define their lives as victims of problems. If you take away their problems, they wouldn't know who they are. We all need to ask ourselves, how do I see myself? As a victim of problems or as a master of my own destiny? Is my success dependent on other people? Outside decisions by others, the weather, the compensation plan, the newsletter? How we see ourselves determines how we think and the decisions we make. Need more proof that self-images control our minds and the decisions we make? Have you ever heard of someone on social welfare who wins $1 million in the lottery? What often happens in just a few years? That person's broke. That person had a self-image of a social welfare recipient. That person consistently made decisions to spend the money unwisely. Jewelry, cars, concert tickets, expensive meals, stereos, vacation trips, designer clothes, and horse racing, so that he would return to social welfare where he felt comfortable. If this person had a self-image of a rich, successful investor, he would have decided to invest in stocks, real estate, or other assets. Have you ever heard of someone who was a millionaire but lost his fortune? What often happens in a few years? That person is again a millionaire. That person had a self-image of being a millionaire. That person consistently made decisions to spend his new earnings wisely, so that he would again reach millionaire status. His self-image motivated him to work hard, save his money, and to invest wisely so that he would again become a millionaire, where he was comfortable. Oh no, but I was only trying to help. Have you ever had this experience? Let's say that you sponsored someone with poor finances. You wanted to help him succeed. You worked hard, you picked him up for training, you made his phone calls for him, you bought products for him, you even sponsored a few distributors and placed them in his organization. In other words, you did everything you knew to help him get ahead in your business. And after all that work, he failed. Nothing happened. He never developed an organization. He never called the distributors you sponsored for him. His relatives came to visit him on the night of the important meeting. He had to work overtime instead of picking up that hot prospect. He forgot about ordering products last month. He invested his overtime check in lottery tickets instead of sponsoring tools. He said that he was afraid to call his friends. He didn't feel right about approaching his relatives. He said that he wasn't good at talking to strangers. He didn't have time to go to training. He talked to the distributors you placed under him and actually got them to quit the business. See the picture? He's doing everything possible to fail, to stay right where he is financially, because he's comfortable with his self-image as someone who is struggling financially. No matter how much you try to help this person, he will sabotage your efforts. If he earns a bonus check, he'll spend it on personal items instead of building his business. If his downline starts to grow, he'll remind them of all the problems that will keep them from succeeding. Nothing you can do will make this person successful. The only way this person can become successful is to change his self-image. And that's an inside job. That's something he has to do. And changing your self-image is very, very uncomfortable. Why? Because you first have to admit what your present self-image is. What is your self-image right now? Here's a quick way to get a pretty good idea of your self-image. Ready? Think of exactly where you are right now. That's it. That's your self-image. For example, what's your financial self-image? Yes, there is more to life than finances, but we're only going to talk about this one self-image right now. If you're making $1,000 a month, then you have a $1,000 self-image. If you're making $5,000 a month, then you have a $5,000 self-image. If you're making $10,000 a month, then you have a $10,000 a month self-image. Simple, isn't it? The hard part is to admit that this is our self-image. Most of us hate to take personal responsibility for our circumstances. Now, there will be a few exceptions. For instance, if we visit the social welfare recipient the day after he wins the lottery, well, he's rich that day. But he's actively working to get back to his self-image. Or if we visit the former millionaire the day after he goes bankrupt, well, he's broke that day. But that's not his self-image. He's actively working to get back to his millionaire status and lifestyle. How do you know if someone is in transition like the social welfare lottery winner or the former millionaire? When that person is actively working to change his present circumstances. When that person is highly motivated to overcome any obstacle or problem in his way. You see, true motivation only comes when our outside circumstances don't match our self-image. But for most of us, we're actively living our self-image. Are you happy with your present financial self-image? It's easy to tell. If you're working hard, overcoming obstacles, objections, and problems, that would mean that your present financial circumstances are less than your current financial self-image. You're highly motivated to improve your outside circumstances to match your self-image. If you're content where you are, occasionally attending meetings, occasionally making a presentation or two, then your present outside circumstances match your current financial self-image. Of course, you might say otherwise, but your actions speak louder than words. You'll continue to avoid rejection, making new and harder commitments, and you'll simply enjoy life as it is. If you're sabotaging your business, complaining about the compensation plan, worrying about the cost of the products, passing on your depressing thoughts to your upline and downline, campaigning for a change in the company newsletter, worrying about corporate and distributor politics, then your present outside circumstances are greater than your current self-image. You'll continue to sabotage your business until you lower your income to match your current self-image. Then you'll feel comfortable. And your outside circumstances won't change until you change your self-image. For example, my current weight is 170 pounds. I'm comfortable with that weight. I'm not motivated to lose weight even though I'm 20 pounds overweight. Sure, I talk about losing weight. I set goals to lose weight. I exercise on occasion. But no matter what I do, I seem to eat just enough and to exercise just enough to remain at 170 pounds. So what do you think my self-image is about my weight? I see myself as 170 pounds. And nothing will change until I change my self-image of 170 pounds. Diets don't work, exercise won't work, health spas won't work, different food choices won't work, and, well, you get the picture. Don't listen, and don't believe me when I say I want to lose weight. Instead, simply observe where I am today. That's my self-image. On a side note, I'm thinking about changing my self-image about my weight. I'm considering a new self-image of 180 pounds so that I can eat more Mexican food. Don't listen to your distributors. Instead, simply observe where they are today. Watch for signs of motivation to improve or motivation to sabotage their business. Their actions will speak so loudly you won't have to listen to how much they want it or what big goals they're setting. These words are meaningless. They just help your distributor feel like they're doing something while remaining within the safety of their current self-image. Take this test. Here's a question. A new distributor approaches you and says, "I just don't have any prospects. I don't have anybody to talk to. Could you run an ad for me? Could you find me some people to talk to?" Your response is either 1. Run an ad even though your distributor doesn't have enough motivation to find someone to talk to. You feel that a $200 ad will make him successful. 2. Every morning you go door to door approaching strangers. If a stranger is willing to listen, you say, "Wait, let me get my new distributor so he can talk to you." 3. Give your new distributor a 30-minute audio on how to find more prospects. Even though your distributor has already listened to 121 audio trainings, you feel your new distributor is just one audio training message away from success. Or 4. Say to your new distributor, "Let's talk about self-image. Let's talk about how we decide to become successful or unsuccessful. Let's learn how our minds really work." So which option did you choose? I hope you chose option 4. Okay, next question. A new distributor approaches you and says, "The products don't work. The company's in the wrong city. The newsletter's wrinkled. The compensation plan isn't fair. Your competition's perfect, and my dog bit me." Your response is 1. Find new products, help the home office move to another city, use a hot iron on his newsletter, give him more than his fair share from the compensation plan, give the competition some problems, and buy a muzzle for his dog. 2. Personally quit your business in despair. 3. Take up drinking. Or 4. Say to your new distributor, "Let's talk about self-image. Let's talk about how we decide to become successful or unsuccessful. Let's learn how our minds really work." So which option did you choose? Again, I hope you chose option 4. But how do I increase a potential leader's self-image? Well, the short explanation is personal development. Self-image and confidence comes from within. For decades, network marketing leaders have guided people to motivational books, positive attitude seminars, and personal development CDs. Ask yourself this. Are my potential leaders studying personal development books or audios? What are they doing to improve their self-image and confidence? If the answer is nothing, then the entire task lies with you. And do you think you have enough time in the day to constantly praise the potential leader, to compliment him on every step forward, to read positive affirmations to him before he goes to sleep? Probably not. Developing this self-image and confidence is something that your potential leader can do on his own, while you're investing your time teaching him the skills of leadership. Make it easy on yourself. Get your potential leaders into a habit of books and audios. Developing one's self-image and confidence can be done while mastering how one thinks about problems. The first step towards leadership is a big step. So start now. Free. Get 7 mini reports of amazing easy sentences that create new hot prospects. Discover how just a few correct words can change your network marketing results forever. Get all 7 free Big Al mini reports and the free weekly Big Al report with more recruiting and prospecting tips. Sign up today. My website is bigalreport.com. Want Big Al to speak in your area? Request a Big Al training event. That website's bigalseminars.com. Tom Big Al Schreiter's books are available at bigalbooks.com. And you can see a full line of Big Al products at fortunenow.com. About the author. Tom Big Al Schreiter has 40 years of experience in network marketing and MLM. As the author of the original Big Al training books in the late 70s, he has continued to speak in over 80 countries on using the exact words and phrases to get prospects to open up their minds and say yes. His passion is marketing ideas, marketing campaigns, and how to speak to the subconscious mind in simplified, practical ways. He is always looking for case studies of incredible marketing campaigns that give usable lessons. As the author of numerous audio trainings, Tom is a favorite speaker at company conventions and regional events. Visit Tom's blog for a regular update of network marketing and MLM business building ideas at bigalblog.com. Anyone can subscribe to his free weekly tips at BigAlReport.com. And finally, if you enjoy or benefited from this book, please take a moment to rate and review it on Audible, Amazon, or iTunes. Reviews go a long way to helping me reach other people and help them succeed. Thanks for listening. This has been How to Build Network Marketing Leaders, Volume 1, Step-by-Step Creation of MLM Professionals. Written by Tom Big Al Schreiter. Narrated by Dan Culhane. Published by Fortune Network Publishing. Produced by Archangel Inc.
Audible hopes you have enjoyed this program.